mic. I'll unmute. So then, yes, hi, hello. If I did everything correctly, which I hope I did, you can all see us and hear us here on Level 1 Adventuring, the Twitch channel that you are currently watching. I am your host and Dungeon Master. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear us and our music. I'd really appreciate it. I am your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott. Ailing is giving me 2 thumbs up, so I'm assuming that's good. I'm assuming that means we can be heard. Wolfe Scott, normally on Wednesday nights, we are streaming 5th edition D&D, but it always depends on our head count, right? Because people are busy, it's the holidays, what have you. I was going to do a solo stream, but then very kindly, very advantageously, 2 of my regular players, who I will allow them to introduce themselves in a moment, decided to offer me their night to do a non-solo stream. So I thought we should try to do something a little different with our time, something a little rules light, story first. So yeah, you're going to see a couple of games on display tonight, but the primary one is Fall of Magic, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But first, why don't I let my wonderful... not only co-players and co-hosts this game, but also co-GMs, I'm saddling them with that responsibility, introduce themselves. Take it away, friends.
Hey everyone, my name is Amber. On our Level of Adventuring D&D campaign, I play Nadara Valier, our dashing and daring rogue. And tonight I will be, I guess, taking my first dive into GMing anything ever. So, thanks for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Garrett. I'm usually Yoan Byrne of the Ravenhall Burns, our resident wizard. But it'll be a little something different today, which we'll get into soon, but not now.
Soon, but not. Yeah, very much so. It will be very different. So, I should mention too before we continue, if this is the first time that you're tuning in, thank you so much, and please feel free to follow us on Twitch, on all the platforms, or on all the socials you might expect. That's where we post updates, our Discord, and also if you want to watch previous episodes of the D&D stream or any of the current streams coming up, they're all on YouTube, so please throw us there a like as well. We actually just crossed 100 followers on this stream like last week. And I think even before we started, we picked up 2 new followers, I think. So thank you so much for everyone who preemptively followed us. You don't even know if our content's good yet, but we're going to prove to you that it is. But thank you so much for doing that. So what are we doing today? It's a wonderful question. We are going to be playing primarily, like I mentioned, Fall of Magic. So what Fall of Magic is it is a very rules-light role-playing game. It's primarily a collaborative storytelling game. It's not very dice-heavy or crunch-heavy like games like D&D 5e might be or other role-playing systems. It's predominantly designed for you to do emergent storytelling, improvisation, and to create a story with your friends as we go along. That being said, we, on the channel, do like dice games. We do like a little bit of crunch to help define our fate. And so we are sort of, I say we, I have forced my friends to do this more like, there's a very rules-light, dice-based role-playing system called Resus, the Anything RPG system, which is, once again, very rules-light, very easy to learn and pick up. And so I'm sort of grafting the rule set for Resus on top of Fall of Magic. So in the event that we need to resolve things dramatically through dice, we have the option to. If you're playing regular Fall of Magic, if you have this game at home, you are not required to do that. It's mostly just about you speaking through the scenes together and experiencing that story, but because we like to roll dice and see where they fall, we are doing that as well. And also, Garrett and Amber, feel free to jump in anytime while I'm explaining things, because I'm just going to keep talking otherwise. So I guess...
Remember, you do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I'm being much help here, Wolf.
That is a responsibility I will gladly bear for you, my friends. Okay, so what is Fall of Magic? How does it work? So you are looking at this scroll right now, hopefully, if I've done everything right. And what's beautiful is, this is the digital version of the game. I actually ordered the physical version of the game because in real life, if you play this with your friends, you get an actual printed scroll. It's a cloth scroll that you unfurl, and it's this beautiful, right? It's gorgeous. So it would be really fun to play in person, but right now we have the digital version, right? And so basically the premise of the game is, you can see it right here on the left-hand side. Do we want to read this all in unison like it tells us in the instruction manual?
Oh my gosh, we can try.
All right.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Very. Oh,
I know I'm on an audio delay, so it's gonna sound just
that's
atrocious.
Fair. So the whole premise of the game is magic is dying, and the Magus is dying with it. We, the party, travel together to the realm of Umbra, where magic was born, right? So presumably, we're starting off on this side of the map, and as you unfurl the scroll, you will see more of the world, and at the end of the world is Umbra, the place where magic was born, and that's where we're trying to deliver the Magus. So who is the Magus? The Magus is a character that we communally have created. We would normally create on stream in front of everyone. We've kind of done a few things ahead of time to help smooth the transition. But the Magus is a character that the entire party controls. Everyone has equal say and control over the Magus. And who is the Magus? That's obviously for your playgroup to decide. Essentially, they are, the Gandalf of the world. They are a magical being of great power who has been of great use to the realm for a long time. And so, obviously, if they died, that would be a really big bummer and spell bad news for the world. So we want to try to prevent that. So we are traveling with the Magus to deliver them into Umbra and seeing what happens. And so how do we do that? So you're going to see on Ravenhall, which is where our story begins. This is all these little tokens, these little coins, which, by the way, if you have the physical version of the game, are like actual coins, like beautifully crafted, shiny metal coins. These represent our characters. You can see on the left-hand side, before the game began, we actually chose a name from this list and a title from this list, and this sort of helped inform who our character is and what purpose they serve in the story, right? It's important to note that because this game is very story-driven and it's all about emergent storytelling, none of these terms are defined in a rule book, right? Like you can see one of the titles is Raven, right? The Raven of Ravenhall. There's not like a page you can flip to that says like, this is what the Raven does or this is who they is. It is for the player to decide what that means. So if I want to say that I am Isha, the Raven of Ravenhall, and I'm like an actual intelligent Raven, I can do that. If I want to say that I am Azor the Raven, and I interpret the Raven being like a title or like the name of an order of people, I can do that as well. It is completely up to my decision as the player character what these titles mean and how they relate to their names, right? And normally, if you were just playing Fall of Magic, that is all you would do. You'd pick a name, you'd pick a title, that would help inform your character, and then you start playing. Because we are mixing Rhesus into this, where there's a few more character creation bits, essentially all three of us, and maybe we'll talk more about this as we delve into each individual character. But in Rhesus, you essentially build your character out of a list of cliches, right? Tropes or archetypes or aspects that are prevalent in a lot of fiction stories, pirate, barbarian, wizard, whatever. You kind of build them with a set amount of points that kind of generally describes what their vibe is about, what their powers are, and that will help them figure out what they can do in context of the story. So that's the characters in a nutshell. So I guess the final thing before we kind of get started proper is, how do you play? I hear you all asking. Well, guess what? I'm about to tell you. Every turn, one player sort of like announced the storyteller, like the primary GM for the round. They also have control of the Magus, right? When they are the primary character. When the Magus is on the board, so right now he's there in Ravenhall, you can see there are all these other scenes that are wrapped around Ravenhall. They all have little names and ideas for scenes that they might be set, like locales. It is the main player's job at that point to take their character, whoever that may be. So I will say, I'll move Caspian's token since I'm Caspian, and move them into a zone that represents that scene, right? we all have communal collective right over the story, and we have final say over what happens to our characters. But as the primary GM in that moment, I can invite people into the scene, and I can invite them in various ways. I can say, okay, I want to invite you as your character, or I want to invite you as an NPC that I might need to talk to in this scene, or I might need to invite you as the Magus, or maybe I want to play the Magus. It's all up to the primary GM in that scene. But then you play out that moment at that scene, you build up, your story, and then after you feel like the scene is done, primary GM will like close the scene, bookmark it, and it is the next person's turn. And then that person places their token and so on and so forth. Basically, once every character, and I'm sorry, I'm going to move everyone's tokens for a second selfishly. Once every character has at least placed their character down on like one main scene, right, around the main story point, that is when the next player, if they so choose, can take the Magus and move them into the next story zone, right? Which has a whole new collection of scenes and ideas. And it basically, the Magus is the one forging the journey ahead, and we escort them and we have scenes with them. And that's pretty much how it goes. So really, the only thing that we are doing is taking the scenes as they're at their face value, interpreting that as we will between each other, and moving the tokens piece by piece until we get to the end of the map and we see how we did or didn't do, and hopefully told some fun stories along the way. But yeah, like I said, there might be some more little noodly bits that show up in terms of mechanics, because we are adding Rhesus on top of this to like roll die in case we need to. But once again, not a prerequisite if you're normally playing Fall of Magic. That's just something that we are doing. Improv with more steps, says Loki. Yeah, essentially, I'm making all of my friends play an improv game with me that's set in a fantasy world. It's everything I've ever wanted. And yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. So I think maybe from here, it would probably be best to... Okay, Ailing said, I didn't want to say this while you're explaining, but admittedly, Wolf, we can't see anything on the left side. I don't think you really need to see what's on the left side. I mean, like, you can see here, I'll move it over, where it says the Fall of Magic. This is all that you can really see, is like the titles and the names and everything. And then you're supposed to scroll the scroll right? I don't want to go too far to spoil it. So you're not missing anything over here except for the beautiful art and the names and the pictures and stuff like that. But pertinent gameplay stuff should start around here. So as long as everyone can see all the text and the pictures that are marked after the river, I think that's what it, where that river mark is, then we should be good. So yeah, I think that's it. I feel like maybe we should we introduce the mages first, or should we introduce our characters first?
Ooh, I think we should introduce the mages first.
We should introduce the mages first? Okay. So before the game, I randomly rolled, and I had everyone, I sort of assigned things about the mages to define, right? So we picked three broad categories. It's like their outward incarnation, right? Like their physical appearance, their personality, their sort of personal bearing, and then something about like their lore or like their history. And so together, in a vacuum, by the way, we didn't really consult anyone. We were just like, let's see what happens. We created this magus together. So, yeah, let's read the magus. Which order should we do it? Should we do, what do you guys feel like?
I feel like lore, personality, outward appearance.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Sure.
Okay.
Does everyone have their text pulled up from before?
Oh, I sure do.
Beautiful. All right, so this is the magus. This is the communal character that we control, who unfortunately is dying because magic in the realm is dying, and we don't want that to happen, right? So the lore, which I was responsible for. In Elden times, a grand astrological event was foretold across the night sky by way of star signs and blazing comets. Prophets divined the mark on the world at which the celestial bodies were said to align. On the day they did, a flash of light came from the heavens that blinded the entire countryside. And when that radiance faded, waking naked in the tall grass was the magus. So, Ooh, who knows?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have no comment. Just naked supernatural being who knows, whisked into our reality, teleported, who knows, maybe we'll discover, who knows. But that's the Magus's lore, right? And so I think we said, what did we say, personality and incarnation, or incarnation then personality?
I think personality then
All right,
incarnation.
personality then.
All right, so I did the personality. All who meet the Magus would describe them as brash, bold, and thorny. They have a reputation for shying away from guidance and advice, often taking the path of most resistance to prove a point. They do, however, have a weakness for babies and elders, in which the more gentle parts of their personality come to the forefront.
Aw, sweetie.
Sometimes.
So a little prickly.
Yeah, a little prickly, but sometimes, yeah.
But they like babies.
A
and
soft
people.
center. Who knows?
You know. As for the Magus's appearance, although the Magus is ancient in years, they appear as just an androgynous youth with russet skin, short cropped black hair, piercing hazel eyes. They are clad in robes of just mismatched patchwork furs. And hanging all from those furs are bones and teeth and other animal totems, basically claws, paws, that pretty much any time the Magus moves, they are just all a clatter from these pieces.
Excellent. So that is our Magus, sort of born of both worlds, the sky and the earth, a prickly pear with a soft center. I'm seeing the polarities already. I'm seeing the range. I love it. I do have a question, Garrett, about the incarnation. Well, two questions, I guess. Ailing says bones. Everybody loves some good bone totems.
Bones.
Bones. I'm from the part of Ireland where the soil is bones. that SNL bit gets me every time. But I do have two questions about the incarnation, Garrett. Number one, so the Magus appears as a youth. Do we have like an age range? Are we talking like teenage, or I'm also gonna start taking notes. I know I'm gonna have to take like ongoing notes about this game. But yeah, is there any like more specific age range with what
Let's say like 16, 17.
16, 17.
Like not quite adult looking, and it really catches people off guard.
Yeah. And then my secondary question is, because they are sort of androgynous to like our perception of that in a physical incarnation, do they have any specific pronoun usage or anything like that, so we can reference them properly during the...
Funny enough, my thought with that was that like they kind of, anything works for them.
Okay.
Like people have recorded their exploits as he, as she, as they, as like it doesn't really matter to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of people who are close to the Magus just default to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like this character, like being so otherworldly, probably wouldn't even bat an eye at that anyway. Just like, I got bigger fish to fry. So that is very cool. That was my questions about their physical incarnation. Do we have any other qualifying questions about the Magus before? Ailing says, I love that so much. Yeah. This guy, I mean, the Magus, like, whenever we put all the pieces of the Magus together in text, I was like, this character's going to be pretty sweet. Like, it just seems pretty cool, like, off the bat already. So that's the Magus. Ailing says, honestly, goals. Yeah, just a supernatural being of no discernible gender identity. Like, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Goals. So that's the Magus. What was I gonna say? Do we have any questions, I guess, between us about the Magus now before we like move into our personal characters? I also can't see your faces, so you will have to verbally confirm for me if you were good or not.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Perfect.
Oh, no, not for me.
Okay, got you. So then, if that's the case, I mean, I will, I guess, I'll be glad to volunteer myself for the first description if you would like me to, friends.
Please, go ahead.
All
Round
right.
robin. I also think did we decide whether or not commercials interrupt the entire stream for everybody?
I think
Bring us in, Caspian.
I think they happen at different intervals for different people. I think.
Cool.
Yeah. So unfortunately, hey, another reason for you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We love you, but you won't get ads, or at least you shouldn't get ads. I think that's supposed to be a benefit of it. So of the options chosen on the table, I decided to choose Caspian, the Fugitive of Stormguard. I felt like once you meet the other characters, I could be wrong, I felt like we needed like some roguish action in the party. So I opted for Caspian, the Fugitive of Stormguard. Who is Caspian? So Caspian, who I'm gonna sort of adopt a smoky, angsty Caspian Rain. Caspian Rain is a fugitive. He's on the run. We don't exactly know why yet. I have some ideas, but we'll let that be discovered throughout the story, right? But Caspian, his like cliches, which I'm like, there's one cliche that I don't know if I want to give up yet, but pretty much is made up of 4 different cliches, right? The first one is con artist, right? So I guess to give you a physical description of Caspian first, imagine he's sort of like a tall, a bit thin. He probably he's primarily a rogue type. He lives on the streets, so he's probably not really well nourished. But he's also a very expert thief. So he's like doing second story work and climbing around. So he's very like nimble, but he's not very like physically imposing. I imagine he's like pale. I imagine he I'm Garrett will know what I'm talking about. That line from that Arctic Monkey song where it's like he looks as if he hasn't slept. His hair is purposefully unkempt. That is Caspian. Dark, messy hair, big purple bags under his eyes. The eyes of which are like a little light and a little spooky. They almost have like a bioluminescent effect about them, which kind of looks like you're looking at some moments in certain lights, especially night lights, almost like a starry situation, like a star front, which we will talk about in coming up. But yeah, wearing primarily like dark leathers with like a loose fitting like billowy tunic underneath. He does wear these like sort of garish pieces, which are like I imagine they're like a midnight blue sash and like headband and maybe like waistband that have like a celestial print on them, like stars or moons and or both, that are sort of like covering his body on those sash pieces. And probably some very gaudy silver jewelry that like looks expensive but is most likely costume. And the one thing about him that you do kind of can detect pretty specifically is that he does carry a sword, and the sword does look as though it is of a class and station of a person that would be higher than his own, right? Like this guy, he's on the street, he's kind of like a vagrant, if you will, but like the sword looks like it has some status behind it. So that's like his physical appearance. His what do you call them? Cliches. Number 1, he's a con artist. He's a smooth talker. He's a double crosser. He's a silver tongue. I wouldn't put him past the master of disguise. It's probably a bit more improvisational than that, but he knows how to like double talk and like persuade his way through a lot of situations. He's also a bit of a gambler. It's not a part of his cliches. I'm just deciding that's a part of his personality, and that goes along with con artists. Like I think he likes to gamble and he thinks he can con people very well, so it's like a unfortunate like tick of his that he like wants to gamble. He's also a thief, which we already mentioned. So he's a pickpocket. He does break-in, second story work. He probably has your normal thief tools on you, and probably some things that would help him like fight dirty, I imagine, like maybe like pocket sand or like coughing dust, or like maybe a smoke bomb or two, like stuff that would help him get around, because he's a thief. This is the I don't want to say the most important part about him, but this is where I'm like hard inserting some lore into the world, right? Which I want everyone to do, so please feel free in your own characters to hard insert lore. So I wrote that he is a fortune teller, right? And what I mean by that is I got into this idea that like, there was this great celestial event that awoke the Magus in like this age of magic, right? Ever since that day, this historic event, which I don't know what it's called. We can decide upon it. I was thinking like, I don't know, like the great light, or like something, the day of light or something like that. The idea that the stars paint our history and like our fate is incredibly important to this world, right? And so like the ability to read the stars is like, some people think it's like there are like some probably like enclaves of wizards and like people who are very much like, we need to understand more about this. This is like a very powerful thing. And there are some people who treat it like very superstitiously, like we're toying with powers beyond our control. We shouldn't try to unravel that fate. Like only the Magus is powerful enough to understand such things. But there are some people who can do this. And so in my mind, in this world, he's a fortune teller. So imagine there's like a thing in this world. I haven't thought of what they're called yet. But imagine they're like tarot cards. But instead of having things on them like the queen or like, the devil, whatever, they are like astrological bodies, patterns. They are constellations, right? So like people, obviously if you have this gift, you could probably just look up at the stars and like read them, but you can also like use these cards and you understand what these constellations mean. And this is where it also creates some distrust in people, because some people legitimately have this gift and they can read the stars, right? As well as like use the cards. But there are some people who might just get really good at like faking that they can read fortunes through the cards, but really have no greater sight, right? And so that's like another point of like contention. Like, is this person trying to grift me? Is he really telling my fortune? I don't know. I am deciding, I think, we'll see in the story. I think that Caspian truly does have this gift to a certain degree, but he also does read for people, and that's probably one of his, like, because he's a con artist too, that's probably one of his many grifts that he uses to like get by. And then the final cliche that he has, which I don't know if I want to give it up all the way yet, but he is like, we know to a certain degree that he's carrying objects that insinuate that he might have once been of a higher station, right? And he is no longer of that station. So there is sort of one cliche pertaining to his sordid past in that regard, and maybe if it happens organically, we'll discover it together. But yeah, those are his 4 cliches. So he's a con artist, he's a thief, he's a fortune teller, and he is a secret 4th thing that describes his past. So that is Caspian Rain, or I should say that is Caspian Rain. Then whoever wants to tell us about their character can go next. Don't all jump at once.
I can go. So my character is going to be, of the names, I chose the name Sully, and my title is the Giant of Mistwood. So Sully would announce herself as, "Hi, my name is Sully, the Giant of Mistwood." She is a 9-foot, gentle-voiced giant who has like this bronze skin. She's very built and very muscular. Like I said, she's 9 foot tall. She looks very strong. When you look at her, you can kind of tell that she doesn't spend a lot of time around cities or like a bunch of other people. She's kind of like cloaked in like nature. So it kind of looks like her clothing is made of moss and like interwoven twigs and things like that. Maybe like reeds and straw. Her hair is really long and like matted and braided in certain areas, and there's like flowers interlaced in her hair and like really pretty stones or things like that. So like she has a very like nature forward, like almost like fae appearance to her, even though she's a 9-foot giant. She is barefoot, and that's about it. Her cliches, like I mentioned, she looks very strong. Her first cliche is she has very strong arms. Like her upper body strength is kind of out of this world, as one might expect for a giant. Also, going along with her appearance, like she's a master of nature magic, which I'm sure will come into play at some point in this story. We'll go into more depth. She is very in tune with animals and like the flora and fauna of the world. So she may or may not have some influence over animals. As my third cliche. And my fourth cliche is intimidation. I mean, she is a 9-foot giant, despite her voice. That can be very scary to a lot of people. A giant bronze, skinned woman who is barefoot everywhere is kind of scary. So, yeah, I think that's Sully. And do you want to insert the lore in this part, or is this like something you want to insert as the story goes along? 'Cause I have idea.
Oh, if you got it now, especially if it's relevant to Sully, I love it. Yeah, introduce it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So Sully has spent a lot of her time, like I mentioned, outside of cities, living in forests and things like that, like just, outside of civilization and like isolation. Giants they tend to attract a lot of attention. So Sully would say that even though magic is dying in the world, in nature and in these forests is where it could be found in its most concentrated forms. And Sully giants do not age the same way other folks do. And Sully has seen the rise and fall of magic and how it has related to the rise and fall of nature in this world. So.
Whoa, so wait, so Sully has been around since the time of like the Magus's like incarnation?
Sully herself has not been around since the age of the incarnation. She is considered young for a giant.
Okay.
But she has had stories passed down.
Yeah.
Through her elders, and so she knows of some of the, the ancient lore that other people may not be aware of. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's Sully.
No, I love that. Garrett, not to put you on the ropes, but I mean, two of us introduced some world lore, so not that I'm gonna force your hand or anything, but I think if that's everything for Sully, I think we have our last compatriot to introduce.
Oh, I forgot something about Sully. My bad. Sully holds a very intricate staff, like a very intricate staff. It is very heavy. It is like she's 9 feet. The staff is probably like 8. It's very large. It's very heavy. It looks like it's made of just like solid polished redwood, and it has a very heavy looking, like rough cut dark stone in the top of it.
Ooh.
Almost looks like a club staff at the same time. So.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I'm sure she could put that to good use.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she'll get some swings in.
Sorry.
No, you're
Garrett's all you.
Oh, I can't tell if Garrett is on mute.
Oh, I think he dropped.
Oh
I don't
no!
see him anymore. Oh no!
Garrett, where have you gone? Garrett, come back! All right, we'll give Garrett a second to sort back in. What he's saying, I'm joining the room, but no one is there.
Oh no.
Garrett, that's a lie, Garrett. I promise you.
What's funny is I think he's still like technically counted as a participant in this room.
Interesting. 1 second while I pull the intermission slide.
Yes.
Magic. Okay, so I guess we'll give a second to chat. Chat, do you have any questions about anything you've learned so far about the world and our characters, or anything you'd like clarified before we allow Garrett to sort back in and figure out his life?
Can y'all see and hear me?
Oh, hello.
Let me put back the intermission. But never mind. Never mind. Here you are. Yeah,
You
I
pretend.
can you see.
There I
Yeah.
am.
Perfect. Don't worry, we were just
Sorry,
vamping for
the
you.
pressure was all too much.
Yeah.
I could see that on the stream.
Oh my gosh, hilarious.
Anyway, right back to it, huh?
Yeah, right back to it.
So for my character,
Yes.
I chose the name Vago, Golem of Ravenhall. And I did not do nearly as much pre-writing as y'all did, but
I didn't do any writing either. That was all off the cuff.
but I got a couple. Okay, well, I got some scraps that I've just been kind of working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let it fly.
Because I noticed that we start in Ravenhall, which I am the Golem of.
You are the Golem of Ravenhall. That is very true.
So my this is what I figure. Vago was the project of one of the many mages that attend to the Magus.
Ooh.
His little followers, or their little followers, and sort of a project, an unsanctioned project that was finished, but they were ousted before, they didn't really get any accomplishment out of it. And the Magus, rather than siding with the rest of the other mages, we got to find another name for them, decided, no, we're gonna keep Vago. We will put Vago to use. So Vago is sort of a constant presence in Ravenhall, an assistant, a defender. They've put Vago to use as a sort of a soldier in defense of Ravenhall. Should any physical anything attack, magical stuff they got, but but Vago has also, because of some less than nice runes that were carved into him, has absorbed some of the fell magic, the kind of darker magic that is performed around Ravenhall, sanctioned or unsanctioned. So not only is Vago, who is probably like 7 feet tall, made of stone, sort of formed in the resemblance of a mage, with like robes, but kind of like big, beefy arms. Not only is Vago good at punching things very hard and withstanding great amounts of damage, but also he has access to some little bits of dark magic. So that's two of his cliches right there: defender and dark mage. Also, being that he is a golem, he doesn't really have a brain to speak of, so he's a little thick-headed, but also in the way that like probably can't really be mind controlled.
Ooh.
Like you can try and control that mind, but there's not much there to control. And another aspect of his golemhood is that he is carved in the shape of a man, but doesn't really have distinct features. He's very much a blank slate, not only in appearance but in personality. So he's kind of good at absorbing and shaping himself as new influences arise.
Ooh. I dig that. Okay.
So that is Vago, and he will talk like this.
Vago, I hate to put you on the spot, although I don't. I love it. But considering that you are, in fact, Vago of Ravenhall, can you maybe give us a little description of Ravenhall? Can you kind of either physical or, maybe some history or both if you're feeling so bold?
I will feel so bold. Ravenhall is a sprawling, some might call it a castle, some might call it a manse. It's got a very sort of like Versailles vibe. If you look at the map, you can see that path leading up to it, all the greenery around it. There's even more greenery and complex architecture behind those walls. As you can see on the map, there's a bridge across the river. There's a menagerie full of beasts, both your average animals and also some fantastical creatures that no one else really gets to see outside of here. There's the Scrying Pool, there's libraries, all sorts of arcane depositories of information. magical artifacts. There is a great hall for the meetings that they have and for the lessons that they teach. And there are also a few more intimate spaces, the places where the mages live, the place where the magus lives and tends to his rose garden. It is basically, it's sort of like Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters.
I love that. Yeah. That's very cool.
In its scope.
Yeah. That's cool. Oh, that's really neat. Okay, yeah. Xavier's. I'm gonna write that down. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Perfect. Okay. And so we have a little bit of some lore and history on Ravenhall, a little description. We have all of our characters. Should we move into story time and see what happens? By the way, just so everyone knows, this is the first time any of us have ever played this game. So it is going to be an experiment, but I have full faith in my friends because they're wonderful players and GM, so I have no fear, but it will be a fun experiment. But do we feel like we're ready to move forward?
I have one question before starting.
I feel like we are.
My one question is, how familiar are our characters with the information that we just shared? Like, how much do they know about each other?
Well, I think this is just me interpreting. I'll give you a little sneak peek of what I'm gonna do, because I think we've established ahead of time, by the way, on stream, that it's me first, and then Amber, and then Garrett, right, for the turn order, which I'm gonna write here. So as a little spoiler for you to plan maybe some things, I'm planning on moving the Magus to the Scrying Pool. And I think that is where our characters are going to meet for the first time, right?
Sounds great.
So I think that in terms of personal information we may know, except for maybe it seems like Vago kind of is almost like a fixture head of Ravenhall. Maybe Vago, you can let us know if Vago would be more well known in this area than most. But in terms of like I think Caspian is he pretty much keeps a low profile. But I think the information we shared about the world, like I think, the people venerating the stars as a means of divination, and maybe some of the giant stuff, depending on, how knowledgeable that person was about the ancient world, that may be more public knowledge. But in my opinion, I don't know if we would have a lot of personal knowledge yet.
Sounds good. Okay, cool.
What do you feel about Vago's people's knowledge of Vago here at the at Ravenhall? Garrett, do you think he would be known, or?
I think if you've been to Ravenhall, you probably know Vago. If you haven't, you probably know Vago as that spooky magical moving statue that they have patrolling the grounds.
Excellent.
That's a neat trick.
All right, so then I guess I'm gonna boldly go where none of us have gone before, and I guess I keep the Magus on Ravenhall, but I will move myself to the Scrying Pool, and I think I'm going to invite everyone's character here, but I'm gonna sort of do it in chunks, right? So I'll set the scene, if you will, right? So our characters, by whatever means they found their way to Ravenhall, I think in some degree, we have all been summoned here by the Magus, right? And depending on, and you can decide this for your character, and in fact, I'm probably going to force you to in this very scene, but we'll all have our own reasons for why the Magus is summoned here for this undertaking, but I don't think we are aware of each other's involvement, right? So however you manage to find your way onto the grounds of Ravenhall, walking through the sprawling gardens. I like to imagine, this is just me, once again throwing in some lore, take it or leave it, that it's called Ravenhall, so I like to imagine that a lot of the architectural statues, like the gargoyles and stuff, have like a very raven-like appearance. Maybe that's like a motif of the Magus. Maybe like that's one of their primary like animal totems. Maybe wears like a raven skull around their neck or something. Since ravens, I guess, are like a big icon for knowledge anyway, and mystery. If that's all right with the incarnation of Magus Decider.
Yep. Sounds amazing.
And so as we are summoned to Ravenhall, many of the attendants who watch over and help the magus in their dealings. We haven't really decided what they're called yet. Maybe they're the Ravens. We do have a title, right, on the side of the screen, which no one has taken. So maybe those are the Ravens, right? Maybe they wear like dark...
Let's do that, yeah.
Yeah. I imagine they probably wear like dark cloaks, and maybe the edges of them are lined with like dark feathers. And once again, maybe they have like raven motifs on them. But, you know, we walk onto the grounds. Many of the ravens approach us, and they, you know, are quick to say, "We've been expecting you. The magus has been asking for you." And they lead us through these sprawling gardens and these ancient statues and these magical menageries and all the while. And we are eventually led to the Scrying Pool, right? So in my mind, what the Scrying Pool is, it's this massive antechamber, right? And instead of it being sort of one big pool... you can almost imagine there's maybe like almost like an aqueduct, and there's a cross section of walkways, like a giant T, right? And then on either side of those walkways, there are like 4 large pools, right, on each side of the walkway. So there are many people, not just us, but perhaps other attendants, maybe ravens, or maybe even those who have come to seek audience with the magus, and you know, maybe are awaiting their decision on whether or not they will be seen. You know, they're bowing before the scrying pool. Some of them maybe, you know, trying to ask questions to the pool as if like it will yield them answers, or those who are more magically inclined maybe whispering incantations over the water and trying to use it to help them see. I imagine because this is the magus's domain, maybe there are like animal totems like hanging from the ceiling or like bound to the walls, you know, like arcane runes painted across. I get the feeling that like the magus kind of has final say and does whatever they want around this place. Like perhaps the ravens would like it to have a bit more decorum, but the magus is like, this is how I do magic. This is how, like, kind of like to the giant's point, like nature is where magic is strongest, right? So while the ravens might be like, oh, we wish this place had a bit more decorum, was a bit more civilized, the magus is like, fuck that, I'm going to line it in skulls and roots because that is what makes the magic strong. You know what I mean? And so in my mind, we've all entered the scrying pools. We don't know who each other is quite yet. And we're all on different sections of the aqueduct, and we're staring down into the water, and there's like a moment where maybe we're just collecting our thoughts. Maybe we're wondering, why were we summoned here? What purpose do we have in service of the magus? And as we're thinking those thoughts, images begin to bubble up in the water and show us a recollection, as the meaning says on the scroll, shows us why we are serving the magus, why we were brought here. And so I think what I'm going to do, so Caspian, you know, he's walking around, one hand on his sword. I think Caspian has a pretty negative opinion of magic, in my mind. I think the fact that he was born with the sight has been more of a hindrance to his life than a boon. And I think there's a part of him that feels slighted by fate, or almost like cursed, and really because all of this upsurgence of magic happened with the incarnation of the magus, there's a part of him that probably feels like the magus is at fault. Like, why should I suffer because some mysterious being just manifests in the world, and now we just have to deal with it ages untold until it dies, if it dies. Like, I think that's like a big part of his personal struggle, is like, why are we all fawning over this magus who's brought magic into the world, and through magic has brought like arcane misfortune and like suffering. Like, magic makes bad things happen too. And I think as he is sort of cursing under his breath like the magus, and why would the magus ever summon me? What can I do for them? Of course, the pool begins to bubble, and there's a soft light underneath the waves, and it captures his attention, and his mind is like flooded with a vision. And so, I think I'm gonna co-opt my friends into roles for the scene. Amber, because you have made the Magus' personality, I'm going to assign you as the Magus.
Okay.
And Garrett, I'm going to assign you as NPCs. Like, I'm going to set the scene, right? But I'll give you sort of, between us, I'll give a sort of final jurisdiction of maybe who you might or might not be. But in my mind, I am teleported in my mind to a time where I'm on the run. I'm moving from place to place. And I'm in a town trying to just make my way to my next warm bed. I'm avoiding the guard. But I gotta make money in between then, because guys gotta eat. And I think that Caspian is on the side of like a market, a busy market, and he has like a little box put up, and over top the box there's a cloth that has the stars and the moons painted on it, and he has his deck of I named it astronomancy is the act, the art of the
Yes.
telling the future through stars, and he has his astronomancy cards flayed out on the table, and he's adopting this sort of this laissez-faire posture, and as people are walking by, we'll occasionally cut him a glance and say, just a few pence to tell your fortune. Know what good or ill will come of you. An honest seer here, just trying to make sure that your life is uninterrupted by ill tidings, and just sort of like trying to market his skills to anyone who may pay. So in this moment, the Magus hasn't arrived yet, but may. But I do think that there would be other people at the market in which Caspian is trying to sell his services to. So Garrett, feel free to to take reins over these individuals.
I think definitely one rather vacant-looking farmer comes up, pulling his wife, like, honey, we can't have ill omens. We can't have ill tidings. Please, sir.
Absolutely. Listen to them. That's a smart man. No ill tidings. You don't need it. Nobody needs it.
No, of course. But I must know. I must know about the tidings. How are they?
Well,
as he like puts his hands over the cards, making a show of the whole scene.
I'm beginning to feel the heavens move, the stars, they are shifting, but something would make them move a little faster. You understand? Something might help them find their way into my mind.
As he's like holding out his hand.
I don't understand. What is it? Please tell me.
You gotta have a copper on you at least. You got something. Yeah, you got a couple pieces. I don't give this stuff away for free.
Of course. And he reaches right into his little money pouch, which it jingles, but not very much. And his wife immediately rests a hand on his arm to stop him and shoots you a glance.
My lady.
Can I tap Amber for this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so I'm the one that stops.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so stop. Don't do that. No.
But we must know that if the crops fail, it will be our livelihood.
If the crops fail, my lady.
And if we give you our money and we end up broke, what are we gonna do then? What will your future be of use then?
His expression goes a little more vacant as he just begins to consider the pros and the cons. Even mumbles to himself, well, if I give him
Let
copper,
me assure you.
both. No,
both.
hold on. And then if the crops are I don't know.
I will invoke our use of dice in this situation
Yes.
on myself, and I will say I'm gonna try to use my con artist abilities, right? And I'm gonna try and smooth you both over.
I understand your reservations. Seers like me, you think we're a dime a dozen. You think we're all liars, we're grifters, we're cheats. And believe you me, I've met my fair share. But I promise you without a shadow of a doubt, the stars above my head, I promise you, that not only can I divine your truest of fortunes, but I will do it in such a way that you will no longer doubt my skills or any seer's skills. And I will attempt to roll a die. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna probably need a little bit of the fellow GMs on the stream to help me with this. So there's a rating scale of difficulty from 1 to 6, right? 1 being like so easy it's hardly a challenge, and 6 being like superhuman, right? So what do we think scale 1 to 6 how hard is it for Caspian to smooth talk some coin out of these farmers? What do we think?
Oh, it's a 1 for the man.
Yeah. The man's buying in. I'm gonna say the woman, she is slightly worried about the crops, but she's also very frugal. So she's not interested, but she is very worried about being broke. So I'm gonna give her like a 3 maybe.
Okay, a 3. Okay, so I as final GM, I will cut the difference down into a 2. And so far, I've received 3 successes. With a 6, which would normally explode, we would roll that again. But I feel like with the 3, we're fine. And so Caspian says, and my skills and any skills, please. I assure you, let me aid you and your future. And you both begin to feel all of your reservations and worry melt away.
The woman says, "Oh, all right. But if all crops end up doing the opposite of whatever you say, I will hunt you down."
And anything from your fair husband?
The farmer reaches into his pouch, takes the copper and hands it over.
He takes a bite on it for a second just to verify its truth. It seems legitimate. Pockets it swiftly. And I would never want to rouse your ire, milady. Believe me, I can see you are fierce, and I would not want to invoke that wrath. So allow me, if you will, to divine your futures. And he begins to move his hands over the cards. In this moment, I'm wondering if Caspian would. All right, I think what's gonna happen is Caspian is going to he's moving his hands over the cards. Oh, it's looking good. Oh, I can see it. It's almost a blossoming field, but there's my vision. It's stuck. Oh, it almost just wants to get over the hump. But I think there were a few more coins jingling in that purse. Correct? I heard a few. I think if there were just a few more coins, I might be able to help finally push over this blockage in my sight. As he tries to...
Without really even considering it, he takes 2 more coppers out and just clinks them against the other one.
Okay. Slams them down. Now my question is Caspian as a big of an asshole to actually take these farmers for a ride, or does he actually want to try and
let's start there.
Yeah, you want to start there? Okay.
Let's start there.
Okay. All right, so that means I guess I'll still roll con artist then, because I'm not actually using my fortune telling capabilities. So, so then what would I be? I would be rolling for. Would I be rolling for the believability of my lie? I would say, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and we're still treating that as a 2.
Yeah, they seem real.
I think now that there's more money on the table.
Oh.
Maybe we should up it to a 3.
Okay.
Because there isn't much money left in that pouch.
All right. So then I will roll that. Ooh, and that is a 4 and a 6, which are all evens. So Caspian opens his eyes wide, and you can see there are perhaps it's his showmanship, perhaps it is truly part of his inherent gift. But he opens his eyes wide and sparkles flash sort of like in front of his eyes. You can sort of see constellations churning, right around the irises of his eyes as he holds his hands out. And with like a deft sleight of hand, part like maybe guided by another worldly force, partly maybe just like a card shark and like knows how to shuffle really well. Shoom, 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 bam, lays down a spread of cards on the table. Now, the cards themselves, I think would probably indicate maybe not the best next couple months in terms of your crops. But because Caspian wants to make sure that his grift is not sullied, looks over them, strokes his chin. Oh my. Oh yes, I do. I see that you will have a bountiful harvest to come. Yes.
Of course. Maybe this was worth it after all.
You grow,
Really?
what's that thing that you grow? It's right on the tip of my tongue. It begins with a P, I think. You grow.
Oh, the sorghum.
Yes,
You grow
yeah,
sorghum.
the silent P of sorghum, yes. Those are going to be,
Potatoes?
yes, those are going to just unfurl, double in size even, as long as you make sure to turn them twice in the sun before the last crow caws on the end of the month. As everyone knows, that's what you have to do to ensure a good harvest. And as long as that happens, I think you will be just right as rain, my friends.
Honey, are you getting this? Did you remember all that?
Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful.
I know.
Could you
I'm
repeat
pretty
that,
good.
Actually?
Yes, absolutely I could. I will say it exactly the first way I said it because it wouldn't change, because it is the truth. You have to rotate the potatoes twice in the sun, as chat says. Chat reminds me, twice in the sun before the last crow on the day of the last month, just like I had said. Just like I had said.
That's metagaming.
It's why we have Twitch. So that's how
So I think as Caspian goes into this repetition,
yes,
another person comes upon this divination session.
Yes, of course.
With a slight of bone against antler. And they watch the proceedings and they don't stop them just yet, just with a very keen eye.
Mm-hmm. So yes, that is your fortune. So good of you to come by. Hope your potatoes just practically inflate. And if that is all, please speak well of me to the next you see of your kin or your friend or folk. And I think that's all. I think all the stars, they're starting to become more quiet. Oh, I can't hear them, he says as he starts like shuffling the cards back into his deck.
The figure in furs. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, as the woman and the man walk away, she's gonna say potatoes. Did he say potatoes?
Shuffle.
As Caspian is packing up all the cards, putting all the stars back into the sky, the figure retrieves a gold coin out of their pouch, places it on the table, and says, "Are you sure? Are you sure they're quieting down, or do you think they might liven up again?"
To this, Caspian sees the gold coin, slowly extends his hand, puts it on it, and begins to like draw it back. Raises it up to his mouth with looking at out of this corner of his eye. Like, is it okay if I bite this? Like, is it all right? Is this gonna be weird if I bite this? Are you really giving this over? And then if I get the nod, he's gonna bite it.
I insist.
Can attest that it is real, I assume, and then pockets it. Well, would you know, the stars, it's a miracle. They've come out again.
Much.
They've come out again twice in one night. Who would have thought? The stars are with us, as he begins to like take his cards and unravel them again.
Here I am, a powerful seer at your service. Why don't you pose to me your question, and we shall see what becomes of your fate.
And this is, I guess, too.
It isn't.
I was gonna say you and Amber, I guess, can work out what happens with the mages. Is like a joint effort there.
Oh, but okay. This just to make sure, this is the magus, right?
Oh, I don't know. Well, that's true. We haven't discerned that yet.
Okay.
I heard rumbling furs and bones, so I assumed.
Same.
But I could be wrong.
I also assumed. Okay, cool. Garrett, continue. I feel like you have a vision in mind.
All right. You got a vision, Garrett. Go.
Oh, it is.
Oh, sorry. Did something happen?
Sorry, I have a direction with this.
No, follow your heart.
I'm just stuck on. The question.
How you're gonna torture this poor fortune teller boy?
Maybe.
This has to be a way, somehow we have to justify by the end of the story that I am in service to the Magus.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow we have to justify this in such a way that I become indebted to the Magus and have to serve them for the journey. So let's keep that in mind too.
I got your gold. I am ready to dispense upon you a truth unlike any other.
I think Garrett dropped out again.
Oh no.
Garrett, are you still here? Nope, Garrett dropped.
All right. No pressure, Amber, but I guess that's all you now.
Okay. I think the Magus is gonna be like.
I think I have an idea if you want to run with it. Because you yourself said that the Magus teaches people lessons kind of like harshly, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is me once again inserting some lore, take it or leave it.
Yep.
I think that the Magus is far more a talented seer than Caspian ever would be, right?
Ooh, okay.
And so I think, I don't know how to justify it. Maybe we can come with that up together. But obviously, Caspian's whatever fortune he would tell would be nowhere near the truth to what the Magus could divine, and perhaps through that sort of trickery of fortune and fate, the Magus can somehow teach him a lesson and subsequently get him indebted somehow.
Okay. Oh, I hear Garrett.
Oh, I hear a Garrett.
All right, I'm back.
Garrett, welcome back. I had a point of inspiration, let's say, and let's see if you and Amber can think of something for it. I was saying that I think lore-wise, I think it makes sense that the Magus is actually an incredibly talented seer too, far more talented than Caspian would ever be. And if the Magus's whole personality, one of the defining traits, is that they teach people sort of harsh lessons, through action and things like that. Perhaps there's something the Magus could do in terms of demonstrating that their power over fate is far more greater than Caspian's, and sort of maybe teach him a lesson and lock him into a debt of some kind. That was that sort of.
Ooh. Okay. Lock him into a debt of some sort. All right. So what if it's I'm thinking of I don't know. Let me see. In this moment, do we want the Magus to show their scrying power? It's maybe Caspian does
That's
the
up
thing.
to you.
Ooh,
You're the Magus right now.
Okay, so maybe the Magus is
Oh, what if? Okay, sorry. I have an idea.
No, please continue.
What if the Magus was in so many words, actually, I can see your fortune. And not only can I see your fortune, I can see your past. And I know the things that you've done. And I know the people that you've hurt. You know what I mean? That sort of vibe. Maybe it's sort of that vibe. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Oh, okay. So what if he like presents that, right? And he's like, like I know who you are. I know your past. I know your future, like et cetera, et cetera. If you can tell me who I am and where I'm meant to be, uh, then I'll give you another gold coin. If not, you need to go on a quest with me.
First of all, you act as if you know me. What do you know of me, huh? What do you think of that you know of my exploits?
Okay, and I want to say in this moment, the Magus mirrors the constellations in the eyes that kind of Caspian was doing before, but like the real way. So like Caspian knows he's actually scrying. So if someone knows how like what it looks like, you can tell he's actually doing it. And the Magus, I mean, I don't really know too much of your backstory, but I guess I don't. Do I want to give away your last?
You totally.
Is it time?
You could, yeah. I mean, we're gonna be here for a while, so you could, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Please hold. Let me just reference this back so I say it correctly. Okay. So the Magus is like, once a night, no longer in favor, or no longer holds the favor of those he once served.
And to this, you see like all the color drain out of Caspian's face, and especially at like the mention of like once a night, like tightens his grip on like the handle of his like very well made, like very well polished sword, and clearly like, he's a con artist, so he's trying to keep his faces put together as much as he can, but there's definitely like a cold bead of sweat that drops down his brow and says, You don't know what you're talking about, but fine, guy. I'll read your fortune if it means you'll get away from me and stop making up stuff about me and ruining my stall here, okay? I'll do it for you if that will appease you in your little parlor tricks.
My little parlor tricks.
Yeah, your little parlor tricks.
Potatoes.
So Caspian is going to try to read the fate of the Magus. I'm gonna say to do this would probably be like a legendary task. To be able to unravel the history and fate of the Magus would be probably impossible for a person of a skill level. But hey, I mean, I could roll a bunch of sixes, so let's see what happens. So I'm going to roll these 2d6. Okay, interesting. So I got 2 successes, which is a fail, right?
Okay.
But I think because I got 2 successes, like, I do probably see some truth, right? You know? And like, I'm like, so, the Magus is looking at me. I look back at the Magus. My eyes start reflecting the constellations, sort of like as close to a truth as I possibly could. You know what I mean? And I can see, it's almost like I'm watching the Magus's life, their storied life, which echoes on, I don't even know how many years, definitely hundreds, maybe even more. You know what I mean? Like in like quick, rapid succession, almost like going backwards until there's like, I can just see like them in a field naked. There's a big flash of light, right? And then like my eyes flash with light and I'm like, like I wake up like out of the vision. There's no way that it can't be. The Magus?
Garrett, we can't hear you.
Oh.
Come back. I think
you're...
Yeah, you might be on mute. Oh, he said he's not on mute.
Oh no.
We still can't hear you. I see. Yeah. Oh, Garrett dropped one more there. Yep.
So yeah, I think he sees like the legend and like the lore of the Magus without like seeing any of like the true events. You know what I mean? So I'm just getting all the information that anyone would have had, but because I'm divining it from them, it has to be true. But in truth, I can't perceive their future. Their future is beyond me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So ultimately, although I learn that this person is important, I ultimately fail in my divining task.
Okay. And the Magus, I think, sees this reaction and is like, yeah, I'm powerful. You're not as powerful. Come with me.
Come with you for. I mean, what for what? What are you gonna do with me?
Do you want to have the most grand adventure of your life?
I mean, I would rather be alive and paid, but I mean, well.
I mean, if you survive, I can tell you now, the riches and the title and the honor you'll have bestowed upon you is greater than anything that your knighthood could have ever afforded you.
There is sort of a twist in his brow when you mention the restoration of honor and status to a degree. And like I said, I don't think Caspian likes the Magus. I think there's a lot of animosity that he holds in his heart for the Magus. But at the same time, a deal's a deal, and he lost. And then, and I guess since you summon, the scene is we're all being summoned at the Scrying Pool, right, for the first time. I'm gonna massage some primary GM control over this moment, right? And I think what the Magus will say is like something to the effect of, "You don't yet know your importance in the grand scheme of these things, but there will come a day when even your skills, be they weaker than mine, will be needed. And on that day, I will call upon you for this favor that you owe me because you lost our wager. And you will serve as you vowed that you would. I will call upon you, and that will be your duty to fulfill." I think it'll be something along those lines.
Yep.
And at that point, Caspian knows that he was bested as a seer and knows that the Magus, as much as he does not want to serve under them, knows that the Magus holds incredible magical and political power and just kind of has to accept his lot. And says, "Fine, yeah, just do what you do. Assert yourself all over this world. Call when you need, and I will be there. Oh, great and powerful Magus." And I will sort of like, bitterly bow, but accept the terms.
And the Magus kind of just like smirks, especially at the great and powerful Magus, because like, yes, acknowledge me.
Yes, recognize your claim.
Even if it was antagonistic and
Absolutely. I think that sounds like a good place for that starting scene to be done.
Yeah, I think so too.
So then I will keep. I'll move everybody back to their starting place. So the Magus is still at Ravenhall. So I'm at the. Sorry. I guess there's still scenes here to be done because we've just determined how I'm in service of the Magus. So because you're here, Solly, Solly, you're going to be walking into the Scrying Pool. You don't even know who I am yet as Caspian. I'm just another face in the crowd, right? But you are also waiting to be summoned by the Magus, and you look down into the Scrying Pool, and you can tell me what your thought process is, but eventually, right, depending on how you narrate the scene, the lights will bubble up from the bottom of the Scrying Pool, and then you will be treated to a vision as to why you are now in service of the Magus and you are here this day.
Okay.
And you can assign who you want to be, whichever roles you want to be. Hopefully we'll have Garrett pop back in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can juggle some roles while we get Garrett back on stream.
Okay. While we're waiting for Garrett, I'm definitely gonna have you be the Magus in the scene.
Okay.
Because I know Magus is gonna be involved at some point. I'm probably gonna have Garrett be an NPC when he comes back. If not, I'm probably just gonna give that to you too.
Okay.
All right, cool. So Solly's in the Scrying Pool, this like area, looks around, kind of like sees these random people around, Caspian being one of them. Feels very out of place, is not used to being in such a I don't want to call it civilized, but like a city filled with people tiny people.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of like the ravens who probably know about giants probably aren't like paying you too much mind, like your curiosity.
No.
But I imagine like the common folk who are walking through here like are walking by you and there's like whispers like a giantess and at Ravenhall. Oh my, I thought they were a fairy tale. You know, like just sort of like there's like a murmur, there's like a buzz, you know.
And at this, like, Solly, like, as she's, like, walking through this crowd and, like, kind of hearing the murmurs, like, her face is kind of flushing a little bit, and she just has this, like, little smile on, because she's trying not to appear intimidating, so she's just kind of walking around, like, trying to appear as, like, friendly as possible, like, hello, hi, to people who, like, may catch her eye.
And as soon as they see, like, a big giant smiling and, like, leaning down, they're probably like, oh, they're probably like, oh, they're a little jumpy. Absolutely.
As she's going, you know, she arrives at the Scrying Pool, and she looks down into this pool, and the image changes, and she's brought back to this scene in the forests of Mistwood, and so we're seeing just a lot of fog. It's maybe like turning into evening time, like the sun is setting, so the backdrop is very orange and yellow and very pretty. It's very quiet. You hear maybe like a stream in the background, things like that. And you kind of see like these three figures kind of walk up together, and they're all huge. So they're all giants. Three of them. One looks a lot like Sully, because it is, but she's way smaller. She's about, at this point, she's about 6 feet tall, I want to say. So about 3 feet shorter than she is, so way younger. And she's kind of holding the hand of one, and she's like, you know, these two figures you can assume are her parents, right? And they're kind of like walking alongside the stream. And this is supposed to be a day where her mom shows her something spectacular. Her mom has never told her what it was. But it's like meant to be a surprise for like this name day, right? For her what 300th name day or whatever. And it's like a giant ritual where you'll see the awakening of like the magic in the forest, but it has to happen at a specific time, etc. So they're walking, and Sully is just like, Mom, when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen?
In time, dear, you must be patient. Our people have lived a long time. You can wait a few more moments.
Mom, if I wait any longer, I'm gonna die.
Sully, we both know that is not true. You are made of sterner stuff than both I or your father.
Whatever. I guess, Garrett, if you want to, you could absolutely be Sully's father.
I came back in the middle of this, so I have no idea what's going on.
No worries.
All right. A quick catch up.
Yep.
So Caspian has been enlisted by the Magus because tried to read their fortune and failed, and was pretty much told at such a time in the future you will be called upon for your skills, you know. And that was their deal, right? I failed the reading, so I owe them a journey, or I should say an audience. Now Sully is taking us to their vision in the Scrying Pool. This is Sully's past. Sully is younger, and Sully is traveling with her parents, and this is supposed to be a moment, a very monumentous moment in a giant's life, where they get to see a moment where the forest magics come to life. It's like a sort of rite of passage kind of thing for giants. And so far, the three NPCs, or the three characters that have been named, are Sully, young Sully, the mother, and the father. And I have I've voluntold myself as the role of the mother. So yes,
that's it. And I want to say they walk to this like almost like this clearing area of the forest that has like these standing stones that have like these ancient carvings in it. And you know, giants are very known to be friendly with like the fauna of the forest. So like there are like a bunch of creatures around, both known and magical. They are not running away from this family that approaches. In fact, like they seem to be communicating and like leading them places. And I guess with that, Sully's mother and father like begin setting up this ritual to awaken Sully's like nature magic.
Okay, I love the standing stones. I kind of have this feeling where like maybe we're creating like a communal like bonfire in the center of it out of like various different different kinds of wood that we scavenge from the ground, and maybe we're carving like giant runes across like the surface of the wood and like arranging them in like a very particular order, right? So like it's burned a certain way. That's like kind of one aspect of the ritual I'm thinking about. I don't know if Garrett has some input on what part of this ritual may look like.
I'm gonna say her father is walking the circle of standing stones, right?
Yeah.
Walking the circle, touching each stone, repeating beast and leaf, beast and leaf. And each time he touches it, the stone he touches glows a little like a verdant green. Each one's a little bit of a different shade. Occasional little flashes of red, of orange, of yellow, but mostly green.
And Sully, your mother carving the runes is sort of in giant. Every time she lays a log down, she's sort of thanking the forest for its bounty, right? Like they didn't pull any live branches off of these trees. These were branches that like fell, so they were like offered to the ritual almost in a way, you know? And she's thanking each branch, almost like thanking it by name in giant, giving it like a either she's giving it a name, or depending on giant culture, she knows the name of the branch, right? And is like arranging it into the center bonfire, and says an incantation, and there's a spark of flame in the bonfire, and it's that same mysterious sort of color that that the beast and leaf runes are like, you know, beginning to summon up on the runes. And I think Garrett's character, the father, I think the mother puts her hand towards the bottom of the flame where like all the ashes would be from like the kindling of the fire, and like grips them in her hand. There's like a bit of a singe, like a little tss, but you know, she's a giant, so she's strong. And when she releases, like, you know, her hand is like marked with like the ash and the soot, and then she raises her hand up to the father as if to like have the hand touch her hand.
And he extends his and lets the soot mingle upon his own palm.
And then once both of their hands have been like darkened by the soot and the ash, we'll both walk over and we'll both put like a hand on the side of your face, and then like draw it down so you kind of have like a cool like soot war paint kind of thing going on almost to mark the beginning of the ritual. And your mother will say something along the lines of like, "It has begun," and like we'll lead you like towards the fire, and maybe do like a communal sort of like meditation kind of thing.
Ooh, yes. I'm imagining maybe just like a mom and dad are like repeating some type of like ancient text that Sully has to repeat after them. That awakens this nature magic within her.
Now I'm thinking too, how we gotta work the mages into this. This is such a cool scene. Yeah. This is such a cool scene. How do we work the mages into this? So we'll say, okay, I imagine they're meditating. They're like, you know, they're chanting. It's almost like a throat singing kind of thing, and it's like a giant incantation. So it's like it almost like rumbles the hillside. You know what I mean? Like the standing stones kind of rumble. And it for you have like no idea how long it like time is almost at passes at a rate that is you know, unbeknownst to you. You're so enraptured by this ritual. There's a part of me that kind of wants to wait until night, until there's like a cool astrological thing that happens above the...
I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
Very here for that. And it kind of relates back to the, what is it, astronomical?
Yeah, I want to build like a thread between these characters, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, maybe they'll sit there and meditate and like throat sing until like night comes, and as the fire's burning, there's like a particular constellation that alights in the sky. Garrett, feel free to jump in if you have any...
Oh no, you're on a roll.
And I think, there's a part of me that just kind of wants to like have the Magus appear, like summon the Magus almost.
Yeah, and like, oh, that'd be cool. And he's the one that's supposed to like awaken her magic type thing. Like, maybe this ritual calls him to this spot, or calls them to this spot. And I don't know.
In the haze of the fire, which is now finally dying as this constellation appears, almost at the same time the fire gutters out, and standing before the three giants is a figure clad in robes, bones, jaws,
Sully is
etc.
terrified. So he's like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" And she's like, she's not frozen with fear, but she's kind of like taking like a couple steps back, like sitting down her face, like her eyes welling up with like tears that haven't spilled over yet.
Your mother reaches out and grabs you by the wrist really quickly and says, "Hush now, calm. You're in no danger. This is the first one. The one who has gifted our people these powers, I will say."
It's a bit reductive, but that's the spirit of it. This is the Magus, not the...
Yeah, you're taking the moment.
And you, I don't have to ask, are Sully.
How does he know my name?
The Magus knows a great many things beyond the minds of mortal and immortal alike.
How do you know so many things?
It is simply my lot in life. There is really no time for me to go into the particulars, believe me.
Do you live a long time like we do too?
Longer.
And then she's just kind of like jaw dropped and her eyes go really wide and she just kind of falls silent waiting for what's going to happen next.
I hope you will forgive my intrusion. I simply was too curious. Now is not the time of our true meeting.
You will see Sully in the future?
I will. I have.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Time is just an illusion, man. It's happening all at once. To this, like, both of... I think maybe to a certain extent, they were expecting, like, a grand event, but I don't think they were expecting the Magus to appear either. I don't think the Magus appears for just anyone.
Oh,
I think,
no.
personally, no.
No. I +1 to that.
Forgive me. I feel I may have muddied the waters. And they look directly into Sully's eyes. Heed the call. You will know when you hear it. And just as suddenly, the Magus is gone.
Oh. And I want to say, in the moments that the Magus disappears, like the same light that kind of embellished the engravings, and when the father was touching each stone, I want to say that light kind of like envelops Sully and kind of like falls over her skin, almost like this warm glow, and kind of like sinks into her skin, and that's when her nature magic kind of starts.
Yes. Absolutely.
And she just kind of feels really warm. And she's kind of like looking around, and like nature looks different. It's almost like she can hear it speaking to her, and she's kind of taking in the sights. And then she just looks at her parents and goes, "Is this what y'all see all the time?"
I think Sully's mother will cast a glance to her father, because as honored as she feels that the Magus has just appeared and like singled out her daughter, I think there is a part of her that also knows, like, what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, for Sully, like, what does that mean? And so there will be like sort of a concerned glance that is exchanged, but she also wants to maintain the pomp and circumstance of this moment for her daughter, right? So just as quickly as like the face is shot to the father, she'll sort of whip her attention back onto Sully and says, "This is how our people see the world. How we have seen it, and now it is your gift, and I'm so happy that you're finally able to share it with us. You have earned this."
And please, do share it often.
I will. Does everyone see the Magus?
I think she'll shoot another glance over to her father. Oh, what'd she say? What'd she say? I think she'll be like sort of cryptic and say something along the lines of like, the Magus is seen when they wish to be seen.
And the Magus.
The ritual is different for everyone.
Correct. Yes, very different.
Okay. And I think that's where her scry vision ends.
Nice. Hell yeah. Okay. I'm loving this. I'm loving the dynamic. Okay. So that means we have the origin story of Caspian getting roped into service. We have the origin story of Sully being chosen for service. And now we will have the origin story of Vago. So Vago, you are in the scrying pool with the rest of us. Once again, you haven't met us proper yet, but you're in the scrying pool with all the other attendants and people who are waiting to have audience. And then take your time, but eventually, bring us through your thought process, but eventually you will stare down into the scrying pool, and you will have a vision of the moment that, you were either, I guess, chosen or roped into, or however you end up serving the Magus, you will end up serving.
I presume the Magus is here with us in the scrying area?
I haven't announced them yet. Possibly on purpose, I don't know. But if you feel really strongly that the Magus would appear here for your moment, I
no, that's
empower
all
you
right.
to do so. Okay.
We'll just say then that Vago is he's standing sort of looking over the shoulder of one of the ravens, who are also here, one of the higher ranking ones, just looking over the raven's shoulder into one of the pools, and he says, "What are you looking for? What is all looking for?"
Do you want me to take on one of the ravens?
Go for it.
The raven looked like it was he was in some sort of, or she was in some sort of recollective moment, and is sort of interrupted and sort of huffs for a second. But she's also sort of used to Vago walking around and like blundering about and like interrupting rituals. I am seeking answers. I have reached a point in my arcane studies where I need something of a breakthrough, and it eludes me, Vago, if you must know. I'm quite frustrated.
You have questions then for answers.
Well, I have questions, and I'm hoping I will receive the answers, yes.
Should Vago have questions?
To this, she gives you a quizzical glance. I don't know if she knows the inner workings of Vago's mind.
Who does?
And says, what would her opinion be of Vago? I think because she's a raven, and and Vago was made by the ravens, right?
By a raven, yeah.
By a raven. Under like kind of mysterious circumstances, right?
So let's call it a forbidden ritual.
A forbidden ritual, okay. If that's the case, she looks at Vago sort of like with a very concerned face, like that kind of face that you only get when people start questioning like if AI should become sentient. And it's like, no, Vago, you should not ask questions. You should do what the ravens tell you because we know what is best for you, okay, Vago?
What do ravens tell me to do?
Vago, the ravens tell you to watch the
And the
ground.
rest of that just fades away as the light from the pool glows. And Vago is thrust into a vision, an experience that he has not, up until this point, had the pleasure of having.
Wow, so this is
Amazing.
like wow, it just opened a new part of Vago's brain. I love it. Okay.
Amazing. 1 second. Garrett is not on stream. Like, we cannot see him.
Oh no.
No, that's true. I switched to a different device. I don't know if that
Okay. But
made things hinky.
feel free to discuss things while I temporarily put on the performance mode and fix your camera. But yeah, feel free to start setting the scene for us while I do that.
I'll say that it is sort of the first moment of Vago's consciousness, and it is in the thick of this this ne'er-do-well raven being essentially arrested by the other ones in preparation for being ousted because they have discovered what he has created.
Okay, perfect. I think I have you on stream again too as well.
Perfect.
All right, so one of the ravens is being arrested for the creation of Vago.
As much as a magician can be arrested.
Right. Yeah.
There are two ravens at his side, locked onto his arms with like magical wards, holding his hands in like a rictus so he can't do any other magic.
Yes.
And he is just ranting, "Release me! Release me! You do not know this is a boon to the ravens. Ravenhall will be made more perfect."
Morius, you knew that the dabblings of this nature, to put life where life does not belong, you knew the consequences, you knew
Life.
the risks.
This is life to you. Look at this thing. It is mere simulacrum.
We both know.
You know this word?
You know,
You little puny mind.
Morius, we have seen Vago. We have seen it do things that animate objects do not do.
You are scared for them to do it. You fear that you cannot control it. You are weak. Little ravens, little birdlings.
To this, one of the attendants increases the ward real quick to like, sort of like give you like a spark and like a pain and like yeah. You are the one who should be afraid, Morius. Vago could outgrow any of us. There is magic poured into it that we do not fully understand. You know that.
You don't understand. I understand. Magus will understand, I tell you.
If that's what you believe, then you can tell the Magus and explain this crime yourself.
I would be happy to. Ingrate.
And I guess we'll say that the two ravens, they'll do like an incantation to sort of like levitate you up in the air a little bit to like hover you so you're not walking, and they can like keep control over you in the binds. And they will like parade you, through Ravenhall. Like people will look at you and gasp and like, oh, that's Morius. Oh no.
As they do this, Vago, saying nothing and of his own accord, will follow them with like lumbering, shambling, heavy steps. And we'll say there's other ravens that are sort of just trying out basic wards and enchantments to stop him, but they're all just sort of being deflected by his own. But he's not throwing hands. He's just following his master.
Yeah.
With the occasional,
And you can see, like, as the magics are just, like, deflected off of Vago's innate power, the two ravens who are, like, attending Morius, like, give him a cross eye. Do you see? You create something that cannot be controlled, Morius. This is your doing.
Create something that weaklings like you cannot control, that mere hedge wizards cannot control.
And to this, they'll give you one last sort of, like... And then we'll say maybe we wheel Morius into the audience chamber of the mages. I don't even know.
Let's say the Great Hall.
We
got a Great Hall in
Ravenhall.
Ravenhall.
We do. Yeah, we do have a great Ravenhall. So what's going on in the Great Hall?
I would say it is a buzz with activity. There are the more studious, less equipped to take on a rogue ravens milling about the hall, with the mages at the very center of it all, just standing, just waiting, just knowing that the confrontation is coming to them. And the room, as soon as Morius is wheeled in and Vago comes trudging in behind him, the room just goes silent.
And I think to this, I think the agents, the Ravens, know that, like, even as powerful as Morius is, before the Magus, he is a non-issue. So I think, or maybe either, I'll let you decide for the scene. Either they would, like, release Morius and open up, like, a ward between Morius and Vago, or maybe, like, other attendants run in and, like, open up a ward between them. Whatever you think would be more appropriate.
I'm gonna say all of that happens.
Okay.
They, like, triple security. They put up the wall. Everyone else is putting up their own wards, and the Magus just waves one hand and dismisses all of them.
Hell yeah, absolutely. All right, so who are you assigning into what zones here?
Oh, whoever wants to take the Magus, I think now's the time.
I guess I could do the Magus. So the
Okay.
Magus is like, the Magus waves a hand and dismisses all the wards, and it's like, well, what do we have here?
Magus, you know that Morius, this malefactor, has been toying with arcane powers that he has been warned several times of meddling with, and now his creation trudges through these halls unable to be warded or controlled proper. He is a danger, and this Vago is most assuredly a weapon that he aims to turn against us.
Turn against you. To use for Ravenhall, you short-sighted little net.
As they're going back and forth, and May just kind of just like walking closer to what Morius is Morius's name.
Yeah.
Walking closer to Morius and Vago, and it's kind of just like circling, just like looking at Vago, and goes like completely ignores everything that they're going back and forth about, and goes, "This is quite interesting and intricate work. How did you do it?"
Vago repeats, "Intricate work."
Oh. Vago.
You don't know, mages. Come now, you have read every tome in the library, the other ravens tell me. On and on and on they go on about you. You know all the magic. You don't know this magic? Come on.
Oh, there's a gasp throughout the crowd of forbidden magic, oh, forbidden unknown magic.
I may know, but to convince others in this hall that Vago is indeed not a threat, maybe you should introduce a little understanding to this court.
It would be lost on them. Their little minds would leak out of their ears, merely trying to comprehend. I should not wish this sort of arcane suffering on the half-wits. No offense to you,
Magus. And so what? You would just let this Morius, who has gone against our very rulings, walk around these halls unpunished?
Do we not celebrate knowledge and the growth of such?
Marius opens his arms and does a little twirl.
We celebrate it, Magus, but surely...
He just holds up the hand to quell silence and goes, Vago, can you understand me?
Understand.
Do you know who I am?
There's a moment, almost like analyzing, and finally Vago says, Magus.
Interesting.
You see, he is intelligent. He will protect Ravenhall. Look at these arms. I mean, maybe pass them.
You selfish fool. You only want it for yourself, and you know it.
Myself. You are projecting, my friend. This is what you would do had you this hulking monstrosity. You would be too afraid for your own self. You think I would put such marks on this, such runes on this creation if I thought it was just for me? And he brings attention to these black and purple sigils that are occasionally just weaving across Vago's form.
Yes, those sigils, those cursed marks.
Cursed. Who curses them, I ask you?
And the Magus is still ignoring everything that's going back and forth here. And it's like, Vago, can you convince the people in this room that you're not a threat?
Not threat. Defend Ravenhall.
Unprompted. And they just kind of like shoots a glance around the room and looks at Morius and is like, what can Vago do?
What can Vago do? So begins his work, I say. Vago! He turns around. Vago, as you were created for, defend Ravenhall. I'm just going to go for this because this is my instinct.
Yeah.
Immediately, Vago reaches out and seizes Morius by the head.
Yes! Oh, I was hoping this would be it! Oh my god, that's so good! Oh, that's
He
so
lifts him into the air.
Oh my god! That is... Oh, yes. Hell yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so dark, but I love it.
And even the most wizened of the wizards in the room, I have to turn their heads. A few of them gasp. A few of the novices faint.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a wretch in the crowd.
And Vago lowers his arms and says, defend Ravenhall.
You know, the Magus.
I mean, he did do it. He did.
I think I'm as speechless as everyone in the room.
Yeah.
Wow. Do we need more of a demonstration? Like,
there's a part of me, or see if you feel that this would be in character. I feel like the mage is seeing this because so far we've seen Vago be very sort of like docile and like not as quick on the uptake. Like, what if this is the moment when the mage just kind of like blesses him with like an extra semblance of like intelligence, like you know what I mean? Like he's like proven his loyalty and is like, okay, like yes, I choose you to be our defender, and then this could also be the part where he's conscripted.
That is super cool. Okay, so maybe the mage just like walks up to Vago, and the same like I want to say the ritual carvings that were on Sully's like the stones actually called back to the mages like as this awakening of power, and the mage is gonna walk up and inscript Vago with that same ritual power and touch it, and that same glow from that stone is gonna glow on Vago, and that's gonna grant like the extra intelligence and awareness. Does that make sense? Does that sound like a good storyline?
And I think Vago is just going to take that within himself and not speak any Baroque sentences, not display his new intelligence, but just know that he has fulfilled a purpose. He has a redoubled new purpose. And give just a little bow to the magus.
Ooh.
While the other ravens murmur in the background, "Are we really going to? I suppose the magus says so."
If the magus says so.
What is dark magic? And I think at that point, the vision billows back again.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay.
And Vago just says, answers.
And as Vago is finishing their vision, so the collection, the party of us, like have finished our visions. There's a hush, there's a gasp throughout the Scrying Pool as everyone's heads like cock towards the grand staircase, and appearing sort of out of thin air. No one saw the door open. No one saw it close. But there is in fact a figure shrouded in bone and loose cloth, standing atop it, and sort of staring down through the hood. You can't really see the face, but you can see the faint glow of those scrying eyes behind the hood. There are 3 of you that have been summoned by me today. It is time you fulfill your call. Come. And we'll, throw the cloak over the shoulder and, walk towards the door. Not even, make a hand gesture. The door just swings open in front of them as the mage just, walks away from the scrying pool. And I think we inherently know that, that one person is chosen. We might know the rest of everybody else yet, but we know we've been chosen, and it's time to follow.
Without any question, Vago just starts marching past all of the ravens. And I think a few of them try to hold him back. No, not you, Vago. No, he doesn't. Oh gosh, no. And they're looking around like, who is supposed to be going? You need to go before Vago. Just get out there.
Caspian will take a step forward. I mean, you guys seem to have your own system here, but if it makes you happy, I'll take my place, and I'll start. Caspian will start marching ahead, sort of keeping a fair distance between Vago and himself as he's crossing the catwalk over the water.
Sully's gonna walk right up to Vago as the ravens are trying to hold him back, and it's kind of walking in step with him, and it's that symbol looks familiar. I think I've seen it before. I think I saw that when I saw the Magus for the first time. I think he's supposed to be here.
And a few of the ravens just are like, that can't, no, but there must be, did anyone get a letter or a vision? Please, oh no.
And
Vago just replies, Vago knows. Vago is supposed to. If you see symbol, you are part of this as well.
Oh, I've seen the symbol.
I haven't seen any symbol. I just know that I was supposed to show up here, and here I am, okay?
But then you are supposed to be here. If you are supposed to be here, then here is where you are supposed to be.
Wow, a glowing commentary from this guy over here. Yes, we could put it together.
I can glow. And he flares his runes for a second, and a few ravens flinch away.
No one needs to glow. Never mind. Just.
Well, here we are, a merry band.
All right. I think that ends our scrying pool scene, which means I will keep Caspian on the scrying pool, but that means the rest of the party can go back to places in Ravenhall. So that'll be our first. That was a big one to get everyone involved, but that's our first scene as a team right there, the scrying pool. So now, who is next? I think Amber was next in our lineup.
Yeah.
So Amber, you get to choose. You place your token down on one of the next moments,
okay.
and then you will set that scene.
Okay. Let's see. So yours ended with the Magus telling us to follow and walking through these archways, right?
Correct.
Okay. I think it makes sense. I'm gonna move. Oh, wait, that's the Magus. That's not me. I'm gonna move my token to the Great Hall because I think it makes sense that we're all going to follow to the Great Hall for some sort of introduction while we're here, to this quest. Okay, so I will invite everyone to the scene. I think I can only move those two. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So everyone enters the Great Hall. Similarly described like before, there's these statues and these gargoyles with these raven inscriptions and raven imagery kind of all around. But the Great Hall is just it's very opulent and very well maintained and very clean. The Magus is standing at the very end of it, so we're kind of walking towards the Magus on this very just very rich like flooring. Like it's like this marble. It's very shiny. You can see a reflection off of it. Maybe Vago's lights are kind of like lighting up like the air around him is how shiny this is. And they're walking around and everyone's kind of just like taking in the sights. There are no other ravens in the room. It's just the Magus and these three now, and the ravens that like ushered them in, closed the doors behind them, and it is just these three and the Magus. Maybe I think in this moment the Magus is going to kind of introduce why they're here and what they've been summoned for, and kind of just like an explanation of everything that's kind of happening right now.
Yeah.
And I think for that, I think Garrett, I'm gonna assign you the Magus, and the rest of us are gonna play our characters reacting to this as well.
Nice. Does Garrett, I'm assuming, is also Vago as well as
Yeah.
Magus? Okay.
Yeah.
So Caspian will wander into the digs of the Great Hall. Once again, has a very poor interpretation or perception of these high wizards in their lofty towers, studying their scrolls while people suffer. Like he doesn't have a good opinion of them, but sort of looks around and says, "Wow, yeah, you've done a real good job for this place. You been outside lately? You seen what it's looking like out there?" As he just sort of like taking a look at all the opulence and the splendor.
And Sully, hearing that, is like, I'm outside all the time and I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
I know.
The Magus waits out the witticisms for a moment, and they finally say, I don't have much truck with the decoration and maintenance of the hall. It's, I have other irons in the fire, and I think you know, as well as I do, that those fires are dying.
Yeah.
To this, Caspian sort of squints his eye. Oh, is that Jack? Hi, Jack.
Yeah, that's Jack. He senses it too.
I guess Caspian. Do you think that the waning of this magic is strong enough for Caspian to feel as well as a astronomancer?
I think he will have been getting some strangely like upsetting readings that he has had to like curveball in his con man work a little more than usual.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are some rumblings of ill on the horizon, but I mean, oh, great and prestigious and wondrous magus, why don't you illuminate us, if you will, considering that I haven't seen you in how many years? Maybe 5, 10? And suddenly you call me here? A little suspect.
I told you I would.
So these fires have been dying for that long, you had to wait 5 years to call me?
No, it hasn't been that they've been dying that long. It's been quite recent and sudden, but inevitable.
So more cryptic words. Okay, after a cryptic meeting. Makes sense, absolutely. Don't mind me.
You are an interesting one to bandy about cryptic words, I should say.
Listen, I'm doing a service, and I'm trying to make sure that at the end of the day, I got something on my plate. Is that so wrong? Because I don't do it behind your fancy walls, and I kiss your feet, and I read your runes. I'm not fit enough to do it.
No, it does not mean that. As a matter of fact, you might be surprised to know.
Yeah, something tells me I would be.
And you, Solly, you felt it as well.
Oh yes. On my way to Ravenhall, I heard the the grass whispering about how it's been a little bit less green, and the birds haven't been able to sing as well as they have been in these recent years, and the water's just been a bit more cold and less able to sustain life, and it's just been hard out here
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Do they talk back? Is this we all hearing the same thing, right? Like the water's talking to you and the birds are talking, they're telling you things?
They are.
All right, just making sure I didn't have something stuck in my ear. That's fine. That's okay. Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah, have you, I'm sorry, I actually don't know your name. What's your name?
There's a part of Caspian which is like, well, I almost wish I didn't have to say it. Caspian Rain, I would say at your service, but apparently the only service I am beholden to is the great and powerful Magus over here.
Oh,
and you are?
I'm Sully. I'm a giant.
Yeah, I gathered.
Okay, have you met a giant before?
No. In fact, I was kind of thinking y'all had went extinct, or I don't know. I can't say I've ever seen one stomping around the towns I frequent.
No, that makes sense. We don't really like to stand out too much.
Easy for you to do, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And then she's like getting nervous because she's like socially awkward. She's like, and she's like, well, if you didn't know, giants we're in tune with nature in a way that you aren't. And so it makes sense that you don't know that we can talk to things that you can't. But yeah.
There's a part of him that doesn't know if you should be insulted by that line. Yeah, I guess I'll just have to take your word for it, giantess. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think there will be time for you to take it at face value once things are underway.
Let's talk about these things that you're trying to get underway.
I'm afraid even I am not privy to all that concerns this matter, and that is something that worries me deeply. Somewhere, long, long ways ahead of us, lie the answers to the death of this magical energy that suffuses our land. And if we are not quick to seek out the questions and then the answers to those questions, there will be no turning back.
No turning back as in what?
The things the stars tell you, you won't hear another word of them. The speech of beast and leaf, for Sully it will be nothing. Vago here, they look up to see the eyes of the stone figure. Well, there are mysteries within Vago that even I don't know either, but I can assure you there is a deep magic within him that will be affected. And not just within the four of us in this chamber, but the ravens outside, the people beyond there, and the peoples and peoples past that. Every single life in this world will suffer for the loss of magic.
And who's to say we're not already suffering because it was brought here, says Caspian. Ever since this great light, ever since you've decided to bless us with your great presence, O Magus, yeah, a lot of good magic has entered the world, and also a lot of bad. And a lot of people have become so dependent on it, like some sort of sick drug, that this world can't exist without it. People were doing fine before you showed up in your big flashing light. Maybe it's about time that there's a new change of pace. Maybe the world doesn't need all of the gifts you've given it.
Have you considered that something worse may be coming to replace it?
hard pressed to think of something worse. He says, like, under his breath.
You have little imagination, then, I should think.
I think it's because he can't talk to grass.
I don't need to talk to grass.
Whatever the case may be, whatever hand you think I may have had in this, I am merely an extension of a greater power. The three of you, and me, we're all destined to be here at this moment. Whether you seize that destiny and forge the road ahead is up to you, of course. I cannot bind you to that path. No one can. But I think that Caspian, Sully, Vago, I think you will come with me to seek where magic is dying and see what can be done about it.
I, for one, can't imagine a world without magic. Even as things have been changing these last couple of years, I don't recognize the forest that I grew up in my entire life. I'm definitely coming if it means I get to preserve that.
Caspian sort of looks up to the corner of his eye for a second.
I seem to remember that some odd few years ago I would be promised a certain reward if I were to embark upon such a quest with you.
Is a fulfillment of your previous oaths not a reward in itself?
I mean,
I jest, my friend.
I'm not even gonna let you answer that one.
The stores of Ravenhall, as you may have noticed, and they gesture to the fineries around you, the brilliant condition of the hall. Let's just say that our coffers doth overflow, and if a bit of that overflow went to someone else, someone deserving of it, it would not be missed by Ravenhall.
I hold up my end of the bargain if you hold up yours. That's all I got to say on that.
And Sully just looks really confused, and she's like, money? You want to save magic for money? Is it not just amazing to be a part of this journey to save this thing that preserves our world?
To this, you can definitely see there's like a drop in Caspian's heart as you say, like, preserves this world. As he like looks at the corner of the eye, yeah, and how much of this world has been sacrificed for it. Something you should consider.
I don't know how much of your world has been sacrificed for magic, but it is quite literally what keeps everything
Yeah, that's right.
around
You don't. So maybe you shouldn't
Like-
offer your opinion where you don't know what you're talking about.
I guess
The
that's
mages,
fair.
the mages start walking from their little central court holding position right between Sully and Caspian, all amidst this argument. Vago trudges dutifully behind them.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
And over their shoulder, the magus says, "This is fine material for traveling conversation. Shall we learn more about each other on the road?"
Yeah, I'd love to.
Why not?
Vago finally breaks his own silence and just says, "Yes."
Yes.
Well put, Vago. And the magus continues walking out of the Great Hall, bringing us to the main grounds of Ravenhall once more.
Amazing. And I think that's the end of the Great
That's the end
Hall
of the scene.
scene.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll move Vago here. I should also mention too. I neglected to mention this at the beginning. We've done naturally. We've planned the scenes in that they are in a linear order, right? Which works. But just know you're not bound by that constraint of time, right? If you want to have a scene that takes place in the past, or is something that happens before they do X, Y, or Z, that is totally fine. That whatever you establish in the scene that you forcibly insert into the past, we can like build off of that as information as if it had existed for the future. You know what I mean? So don't feel restricted by the bounds of time in that regard. All right, so if that's the case, Sully has done the Great Hall scene. I have done the Scrying Pool scene, which means Vago, Garrett, has a scene in Ravenhall.
Okay, so I was just going to ask: are we basically going to do 3 scenes in each locale?
Correct. A minimum, yes.
Great, cool. In which case, what do I like? I think we better go to the Rose Gardens. So the Magus is going to lead us through the Rose Gardens. Everybody's invited.
Party.
Y'all can move yourselves there because I can't move you.
Oh yeah.
Chill.
So we'll say that the first thing you see upon entering Ravenhall, crossing the bridge, going through the gates, are these beautifully maintained rose gardens. They are said to be the Magus' prize thing in the whole of Ravenhall. Forget the libraries, forget the scrying pools, forget any of the artifacts that they possess. These mere, supposedly enchanted, but some say just mundane roses, are some of his most precious belongings in this world. Some of their most precious belongings in this world. But as you pass by them on the way back out of Ravenhall, we see that the beautiful red and pink and white petals are just turning brown at the edges. The leaves are a little bit crinkled, and it is full summer at the moment. They should be in gorgeous bloom, especially in such an enchanted place as this. And as our party passes by, the Magus reaches out to touch one or two of them, and even at their touch, a petal, a leaf will fall.
Sully's looking around and she's like, they're dying. They're withering. They're missing something. They're missing.
And I'm going to hand the Magus over to Wolfe for this one.
Okay. The Magus, still with like a finger on one of the withering plants. As Sully says, they're dying. Are you continuing on with that, Sully, by any means?
No.
Sort of. There's something of like a scoff, almost like and says, they are stilted, not truly dead. Nothing, I think, in this world truly dies unless we give up on it. And shoots like a quick glance to Caspian and then back to the party. This is what I've been speaking of. This corruption. It has started here, but it will not end here. And it will roll through this land unaccosted, unless someone does something about it.
Vago reaches out, just like the Magus reached out, to touch a particularly white rose. And the runes along his stone body flare. And rather than just a single petal falling, the entire rose like speeds through its life cycle. It wilts, it withers, it browns. All of the petals wither and fall. And almost before anyone can say anything, the stem turns green again, the rose buds again, and it blooms again, but it's still brown and dying at the edges.
Oh.
Vago shows what I cannot articulate as well as I wish I might. It is not something that you can fell with a sword. It is not a force that can be confronted with by force. It must be undone somehow, some way, unraveled, so that the natural progression of things can exist again.
Can I try something really fast?
It is why you were summoned here. You are my guest.
So Sally's gonna walk up and look at Vago and say, "Can I?" And she's kind of like referencing the etched rune on Vago's chest from the Magus.
Vago answers, I cannot. Maybe you can.
So, if I remember correctly, she's gonna repeat the ritual that her father was doing as he walked around the stone, and she's gonna touch Vago's chest, and then touch the rose and go, east, leaf, east, leaf, and see what happens there. And I want to say that the same process that happened when Vago first touched the leaf happens again. It withers completely and dies, and then the stem comes green again, and it reblooms with the same brown edges. So it did not work.
And I'll say to that, to yes and in its like last iteration, like its last growth and like death cycle, there's a moment where it comes back as a different flower. There's a moment where it kind of regrows, but it's not a rose, and everyone just sort of like stops for a moment, like with a gasp of like excitement or confusion, and then just as quickly, like it fades away and it dies. And to this, the Magus sort of nods solemnly. That is likely the most amount of any change that I've seen in this rot in some time. It is proof in some way, they say, once again cutting a skeptical glance at Caspian, that something can be done here. I know not what yet. The full scope of our power over it, I do not know, but I do know that by assembling all of you here, you in particular, your histories, your origins have all led to this point where together you can exert some change in the world that I alone cannot.
Vago is going to look at Caspian and say, together, and look at the same bud and point and look at Caspian and say, you want to try?
And Caspian looks at the Magus like, do I even really have a choice? And the Magus like will just smirk and say, not likely. And then Caspian, fine, and like reaches over and like puts his hand on the plant as well. That I'm assuming that that Vago and that Solly are still touching.
Yeah.
And you know, you can see on his face, he's sort of like, the expression is like, this is so stupid, this is so foolish. And as soon as he touches it, his eyes go wide, and you see like the astrological figures like burn behind the irises, and there's like in his mind, he watches the like there's a almost like a conjunct scene happening in his mind where it's like the party traveling over all of these roads and in between mysterious circumstances and you know, this building and that building and this death-defying stunt, and as they're moving along, the plant is like slowly growing once again and like blossoming and like coming to life, and there's a moment where they like get on a boat and they are crossing the sea, and the plant is at its most gorgeous. It is right there. Actually, like more buds begin to like pop on the side of it as if it's going to like multiply in strength, and right as like the boat crests over like the waves and like disappears from his sight, he'll sort of like gasp, and then like the flower once again begin to like shrink back down and like wither and like fade. And you can see there's definitely like a look of overwhelm washing over Caspian's face. Okay. That's a lot to unpack there.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm fine. What are you trying to say? As he like looks over to the Magus, and the Magus says, "You are watching this world die, the magic of this world die, and as you say, I am in some part responsible for the magic here. I am fading as well. This world has looked to me for time unknown to guide it, and I have done my best to instruct themselves on how to live, on how to use the powers that were brought here with my coming to the best of their ability. I gave nothing for free, but soon I may have nothing left to give. I am not strong enough, as much as I am loath to admit it, to reverse this. But as you've seen with your own eyes now, and sight beyond sight, Caspian, there may be a chance that through our combined efforts, this can be reversed. And I'm willing to, even if it kills me, and it might, I'm willing to risk myself on that chance."
Vago just echoes again. Together.
So let's go together and look at Caspian.
I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. Together. To the Magus, there's a knowing smile as they extend their hand and like puts their hand on top of like the cluster of hands that have formed, right? And yeah, same thing. Together. And we'll, yeah, that's all I have right now.
So the Rose Garden
Mm-hmm.
is one of those spots on the map that has that little plus sign star thingy, which is a trait. And for the Rose Garden, I'm just going to claim it because I picked the scene. I can assign either beautiful, legendary, or fierce to one of our characters. I am going to give the legendary trait to Caspian.
Ooh, yes!
Not because I think that Caspian is now legendary, but that Caspian has a destiny.
Yeah.
A monumentous destiny that I think he is starting to realize.
You're forcing
and
me
what
into
he's
the
gonna
reluctant
do with
hero.
that, I don't know.
you're gonna force me into the reluctant hero role. Okay, cool.
I think you forced yourself into that.
I think you did too.
You picked Caspian, but it's just now dawning on him that this might be big.
And I am obliged to believe that. Scene maker. All right, I will mark it down. Caspian has now gained the legendary trait. Which are we gonna run with that suggestion I gave at the stream where like we can maybe add it to an applicable role if it feels right, if we need it?
I suppose we could.
Yeah.
As long as we're fussing with stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, and then storyteller. Is there any other things that happened at the Rose Garden?
No, I think that was a beautiful little button on it.
Yeah. All right, so that means Vago is at Rose Garden, Great Hall, which means all three characters have so far done their scene, right? Which means, as the first player in the turn order, I can choose to either choose a new scene at Ravenhall, or I can progress the story. Oh, man. I'm so tempted by the last time you saw Real Magic, but also, like, that button was really good and feels like that might be the natural moment to move the story along.
Don't forget, we can play this game a different way another time,
True as well.
whether on the stream or no, and you can experience that menagerie
That's true. Yeah.
in another story.
It won't be the
because
only
that
time
is the wonder.
Wow.
If I may pitch this game that we're playing.
Please do. Yeah.
That is what's great about the Fall of Magic by the people who wrote it.
I think they're called the Heart of the Deernicorn. If I'm not.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Heart of the Deernicorn. So hey, Heart of the Deernicorn, if you're watching the stream, we love you. Help us. Help us, please. Okay, so yeah, I think with that very beautiful button, I will in fact move the Magus. Oh no, into the Oak Hills. Okay, and the scene prompt is the end of summer. So I think so the Magus knows that they have a long journey ahead, and has spoken to all of the ravens, the attendants, made sure that y'all were cared for during your time at Ravenhall, and has accrued a bunch of rations, and they're probably enchanted, so they're very filling and tasty and all this stuff. And I imagine also has arranged I imagine would also probably arrange for mounts, but I'm trying to think of how that would work for some of the characters. Because I'm not quite sure.
I feel like if we're gonna go with the mounts idea, the Magus and Caspian would have just some they would have their mounts. The Magus probably has a very nice docile horse. Caspian's is probably giving him a little guff. Because of course it is.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, just Vago and Sully are just keeping pace on foot.
Yeah.
I want to say, can Sully have like a beast of burden, like a big ox or something?
Like a big what?
Like a big ox or something?
My god, that'd be like fire. Okay, so like a giant ox.
Yeah. Like the only pack animal that could possibly bear all the heft of Sully.
I like that a lot. I want to give her like a super longhorn
yes,
chunky
yes.
Yes.
And
I like this.
I want to say too that they arranged for Caspian to have a horse, and as they're walking out to the stables and everyone's rounding up, Vago, I imagine, doesn't have any concept of mount or anything. Vago's marching alongside dutifully. But they bring out Caspian's horse, and Caspian gets on top, and they're looking at the Magus, and it's and the Magus is just standing there, without a mount. And so Caspian sort of winds up and says, I mean, I understand you're the great and powerful Magus and all, but you said yourself it's going to be a long ways away. You might want to, I don't know, maybe pack an extra pair of shoes or something. And then the Magus once again gives that ever-knowing smile, that little smirk, and says, there will be no need. And there's maybe a tap on the bottom of the staff, and there's a wisp of summer breeze. There's some leaves on the wind, and then of course manifesting is a raven. Did we establish a color hierarchy for their magic yet? I don't know.
Not yet.
Well, we've been going with this nature magic is amber kind of deal. Oh, yeah. What if because we've also talked about how the Magus also can do astronomancy. So what if there's one blue starlight eye and one amber glowy eye, sort of representing both styles of magic, the world magic and the star magic combined, right? And just sort of flies and perches on I want to say perches on Caspian's shoulder just to begrudge him. I feel like Caspian would be the most annoyed by having the Magus on his shoulder. So that's what the Magus will do. And as the Magus, like in Raven form. Oh, I think we just lost Amber. We'll see if she comes back. You still with me, Garrett? Oh,
I'm still good.
there
I
we
was
go.
looking up different colors of ravens,
Okay, nice.
like in real life.
Oh, real life.
But I was like white raven, and it gave me Raven from the Teen Titans.
From the Teen Titans.
So that
didn't help. So it's on.
Amber's back, by the way.
Nice.
Thank you. My internet just froze, or my Chrome browser froze.
No.
Welcome to my life.
We'll say that the Magus is on Caspian's shoulder and like looks like cocks its head to the side as like looks back to the party, and in all of our minds we hear the Magus's voice and says, "It will be a few days' time," like echoing through our brains. "It'll be a few days' time that we must ride through the Oak Hills. Prepare yourselves for whatever may lie ahead. I can guarantee you no safety, only my aid, should it be needed of us."
Vago's just gonna follow after the Magus, basically. He doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to sleep.
Sully?
He wouldn't know how to improve himself except by observing other people.
Yeah.
And Sally's just gonna look really confident at the Magus. Goes, "I'm ready."
Caspian, like with the Magus on his shoulder, like, you know, cutting a side eye, and I think the Magus is like purposefully like pecking at like little bits of his like armor, like really selling that he's like just a bird, but you know, probably doing it just to piss Caspian off, and says, "Lead the way." With that, the Magus will like open his wings and like take off and like kind of give them a leading point in the sky as they begin their journey. I will say that the Oak Hills scene is more of like a montage where, you know, we're seeing the Oak Hills are, as the name describes, are these rolling swaths, mounds of land with these massive oak trees that are growing out of their centers, like impossibly tall. But there are moments as we're like weaving in and out of the different greenery and out of the stumps that we're seeing like some of the trees, their roots like blacken and like shrink, and it definitely looks as though there's echoes of that same like foul mutation of the rose gardens that are like cropping up in the Oak Hills. And so when it says the ending of summer, although I do think that is literal, right? I think like it's moving into fall, right? I think there's almost a more metaphorical meaning where it's like we're leaving like the bright times of our past lives behind us, and now we have to look straight on at like what foul things are like beseeching the earth, and like come to grips with the fact that it's not just in a place like Ravenhall where the Magus can watch over it. It's actually much further spread. And I think to like seeing this too, the Magus would like fly to a branch and like perch on it and like look down at like where the root system is like looking polluted and rotten, and like look back to the party and, you know, echo throughout our minds once again. This is worrisome. It is growing faster than I thought. I did not expect it to reach the hills by the end of summer.
Sully's gonna walk up to the tree that the Magus is on and like touch the root system and kind of just like close her eyes for a bit. And you just see like tears start streaming down her face. And she goes, "They're sick. They're in pain."
Yes, they suffer now as I do. I feel their hurt in me as an extension of this land, and you too, Sully, as it grows, may come to feel that same pain. I only tell you now so that you may be steeled against it when the time comes.
And then she kind of just shakes her head with understanding and like kind of stands up, but is kind of like hugging herself now.
Caspian. I guess I should have assigned people roles. So far, I think we're just our characters. I don't think there's another character in the scene currently. And Caspian sort of sees the trees and thinks to himself, I know. Actually, in this moment, I'm gonna give the Magus to Garrett. And I'm gonna say there was a time, a long few years back, where you showed me that you can see things that most people can't. There had to be a part of you that knew this was coming. You couldn't have told anyone else, couldn't have rallied any more forces.
I think you know as well as I do that the progression of time, of events, of fate is strange. There are certain things that can be prevented, choices that can be made between one fate and another. There are things against which you can amass an army to prevent or to overcome. This thing, I knew it was coming. I don't know what it is. I know that there was nothing I could do until the moment I assembled you in Ravenhall. There was no more that I could do against this than bring the three of you. I have done everything I could with the things that I've seen. That is all there is.
It's an easy thing to say when you're up on your perch. as he like quite literally like nods to the raven form. But far be it from us to question you, I guess.
That you think it is easy. I wonder how you came to that conclusion.
Does Vago have anything to say as they're having this exchange?
I think Vago has been sort of staring just straight into the tree, like processing, thinking, which is a slow process for Vago. And sort of like not really paying attention to the Magus and Caspian, but finally coming to his own conclusion, he just says, "We cannot do anything here, but we must do things. We cannot wait. We must go on."
So this actually, Caspian's eyes light up, and he says, "Yeah, we can't do anything here. That's a good point." And he looks at the Magus, and he says, "When you had me touch that flower in the rose garden, I saw a great ocean. Are you meaning to tell me that we are going to cross the sightless sea?"
It was not I that told you that. And the little raven Magus points his beak to the sky. Points their beak to the sky, and as if looking at the stars, which I think Caspian takes pretty clearly. Even I am but a pawn of destiny.
If legend has it, and, I'm sure you can give us a whole rundown on that, beyond the sightless sea is the land of Umbra. People have not been there since time immemorial. That's supposed to be where some of the first magics, before they manifested in you, began. People have not been there hundreds of thousands of years. Anything could be over there.
Seems a fitting place for the last magics to die out,
At the mention of Umbro, Sully's like, "Umbro, that's where the first giants are supposed to be from."
Very cool. Very cool.
Indeed it is. I think it is no mistake then that you are the one of the ones fated to attend this journey.
Great. So we're just shipping ourselves off across the ocean to a land that no one's seen for thousands of years, which holds untold magic, the origin place of the giants, and whatever I assume terrible monsters have decided to grow there unchecked all this time.
That's what you're telling us.
I just wanted to make sure, double checking that's the situation. Sounds good. And with that, I think he would sort of, kick the reins on the horse and just begrudgingly every time the Caspian opens his mouth, he's like met with what he already knows, which is it just keeps getting worse.
I can't believe we're going over the sea. Of course,
we're going over the sea.
And
I think he's just pedaling away. So I think I think that's a good ending place for the summer scene.
Yeah.
Which will take all of us here, and I think we're coming on 10:30.
I was just gonna say,
yeah,
because I know that there is one last thing we have to do before we end this game.
What is the last thing we have to do?
Well, the last thing that we do is we call the last round, and we reflect.
Oh,
Make space for casual conversation, reflecting the story that we've created together.
Yeah.
A moment you enjoyed, an appreciation of another player, something you found challenging or difficult, an emotion or memory the game evoked.
Wow, thank you for having... Yeah, no. I'm just spitballing from the PDF, which is open directly to my left. No, actually, this would be really cool for the people who are still in chat. If you have been watching and listening in this time, I would also love to hear what were like some cool moments and beats that like happened for you. Because once again, this was all completely improv. We've never played this game before. I literally roped Amber and Garrett into this PDF like hours ago as an experiment. And I don't know. I personally am really, enjoying it. I think. Like, there were just really cool moments, like just that in that last scene, Amber, when you were just like, yeah, that's where the giants are from. I'm like, hell yeah, that's such like, It was just a sentence, but I was like, that just made the world so much richer. I was like, that, like, and it like also plays into all of the themes that have been building. I was like, hell yeah, that's so good.
Well, I think what's been nice throughout this entire session is that there's pretty much not been an idea so far that any of us have been like, no.
Yeah.
It's been a very, the environment that we've created with each other is very just like, that is, yep, that's it. It's not to fall back on yes and, but it's essentially good improv practice.
Yeah.
Good practices of improv.
Right. I really appreciate everyone's different relationship and devotion to like the Magus in this quest. I feel like they're all very different. Like Caspian being kind of like we said, the reluctant hero who is kind of like, oh, I lost the bet, so here I'm here. And Vago being like, this person gave me this gift of intelligence. Like I am going to follow this person. I know what I'm supposed to do. And then Sully just kind of being like, I want to save nature in my homeland. Like let's do this. I thought that was really cool. Also, I think it's interesting how different people play the Magus. I think that was interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Magus is hard.
Well, they are a very ephemeral.
Personage. No, it's true. It's like I'm trying to like get the feel because it's really easy to because that the Magus has like all the power and the knowledge to a certain extent, and I do appreciate Garrett kind of leaned into this idea where like. The Magus had all the answers up until a point, but now doesn't, right? Which I'm like, but there's also that part that you put in, Amber, which I think we sold really well in the beginning with the first scene with Caspian, where it's like we had to teach him a lesson. I'm trying, and also to an extent with Vago, although I guess like, I think I don't think in the moment we were thinking that the lesson would be taught to like the people. Do you know what I mean? But I think it was cool how that happened. Like how the Magus says, like, I see all of time, like, forwards, backwards, frontwards, whatever. It's like in that moment in our role play, it's like, yeah, we didn't know that Vago was going to like protect Ravenhall by like destroying the threat. But like
Yeah.
the mage, you could argue that narratively speaking, the magus did.
Knew.
Do you know
Yep.
what I mean? And was like
Yeah.
prompting that to happen in a way.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to try to find ways to lean more into like the sometimes harsh lessons that have to be taught for people to fully understand what the magus inherently understands. But yeah, it's a tough sort of thing to grab onto because you want to play them as such a a knowing being, but like
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that scene, by the way, Garrett, top tier. Like that's my highlight of the night. That was like
there was a part of me where I was like, I want it to be.
Session.
Yeah.
We were talking before this about how much of the mechanics of Reese's we were going to use because the Fall of Magic has like almost none, if any, mechanics. I wanted to try very like improv, collaborative, world building kind of stuff, but historically, like my improv experience has been very like in my head and very like I have to plan the next 12 beats, and which I know is not conducive to it. So that was one of the moments where I had a gut. I was like, this is what I want to have happen, and I was starting to think like, is it too on the nose? Is it too out of nowhere? And I was just like, no, we're just gonna do it.
Yeah,
we're just gonna do it, and it's gonna work. And it's like every time I kind of pushed through and went for those moments, it worked.
Yeah, no, that was like in my heart of hearts. I was like, I really want Vago to do that, but I was like, I didn't want to like be the one to make Vago make such like a cold bloody choice. But then when you did, I was like, oh my god, it's so satisfying. Like, thank you. Like,
so I think we have all of us good instincts for those things, whether or not we know what the payoff is. That there will be something in character, relevant to the plot that will bear out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I liked to Amber in the beginning when you were like, I don't know if I want to give away your secret so early, and I was like, no, this is a really good like if you're gonna get Caspian to like follow suit, like you kind of have to have big leverage over him, and for you to be like, yeah, like I know that you were like a disgraced knight, and like I can fix that. I was like, hell yeah, no, spoil it. Like I don't care if it's the first scene, spoil it. That's cool as hell.
Yeah, I was worried about that. I was like, am I remembering a future plot point you have in your head already? Like
No, that was great. I was like, hell yeah. And it gave him the motivation he needed to like get over his like skepticism and join suit.
Yeah. I think Caspian is such an interesting character in the story because it almost feels like I feel like it's everyone's story in this thing, but I feel like we're kind of in Caspian's arc right now, where it's kind of like we're watching Caspian kind of like come to the side of magic.
Yeah, well, that's like, and I think it is nice that, like you mentioned, we all do have our own relationships because, like, I think. I don't think you need one to have a good story, right? But I think there is important to have that one focus point character, which isn't like the one that is like, yeah, I'm just gonna do everything that, like you kind of want that person to be the stick in the mud so that they you can, as I think an audience member, you know what I mean? You can like you can think they're like that way through them and then see how it all changes. And it's interesting, like I definitely have things in mind for why Caspian thinks the way that he does about magic, given that he does inherently have it too. Like I have things in mind, but like who knows if those will, show up in that way. And like, I'm interested to see what happens, but like, and I'm also trying not to peek ahead at the map because I don't want to spoil it for myself. But like, I do know like how you kind of said, how everyone has like an arc, like I know, for example, like every location on this map is named on the board, right? So it's like I know we're gonna go to the Mistwood, and that means I know we're gonna get like Sully lore, you know what I mean? And like I know we're gonna go to Stormguard, so I know we're gonna get Caspian lore. I'm interested to see now too, like how what happens with Vago, because Vago's origin story is where we're leaving. So it's kind of interesting because I feel like Vago has the most potential growth.
Same.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Because has Vago left Ravenhall? Have we explored that yet?
I mean, my gut answer is no, but that could change. We could find out.
We could,
Yeah.
A flashback.
I do like to I mean, like, I mean, I know there's been a lot of what's the word, talk about like AI, like
Oh, I just had a really good idea for how that could work. Anyway.
no. I was saying, you know, there's been like a lot of buzz of AI, like, you know, in the world. And I wasn't really expecting that to be my input on Vago's story, but like, yeah, whenever I was like playing that Raven, and you were like, oh yeah, like Vago was made by like weird forbidden magic and stuff, I was like, yeah, they probably would be concerned that this entirely sentient being that is like made out of some sort of fell energy is just like just gets to act unchecked. So it was cool to like have that come to. Ailing said in chat, it is very easy to follow a story when you have a strong focal character within a group, but yeah, I'd like to learn more about Vago. Yeah, I mean, me too. Hopefully we get to learn more about that rocky boy.
Same. Ugh.
But yeah.
Well, good times all around.
Times. Yeah, no,
this was fun.
This was a very fun experiment. Like I said, for chat, Wednesday night is usually our D&D stream, but once again, sometimes we can't get the head count. So in the future, should we not have the head count and we at least have Garrett and Amber, and who knows, maybe other players will want to join in on the road as we journey. I would not be opposed to, you know, having people slot in as we play. But I would definitely be down to revisit the Fall of Magic and see what happens with our unlikely crew of hopefully magic resuscitators in the world. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end it for the night. What do y'all think?
I think so too.
For sure.
Excellent. I will then say thank you everyone who tuned in for the stream. I think at one point we were pushing like 11 or 12 viewers at the height, which feels great, and there's still 7 of you with us now, which is awesome. I am so thankful. Like I'm 11ish. Yeah, that's awesome. I have been, you know, I manage the Twitch and I manage the YouTube. We've been in VC chatting, not gonna lie. I don't know what. Oh, video chat. Oh, well then you got to tell me what all the lore is. You got to let me know what all the dish is. But you know, I manage the YouTube and the Twitch, and when I see, like, I get the notifications where like we get a follower, like our watch time increased, or like, you know, a new subscription or whatever, I just get like so geeked because I mean, like, it's just so cool that it's it's you know, it's proof of concept. But that being said, thank you so much. This is Level 1 Adventuring, host and dungeon master. Well, I should say fellow game master in this game, Wolfe Scott. Garrett and Amber, feel free to. Oh, I should also say, Amber, please plug your Twitch, which is linked on. Yeah, I mean, it's linked on our page, so you can definitely see it right from our page, but please plug yourself.
Yeah, sure. So y'all, I've started like streaming on Twitch finally. I've been trying to get this started for a while now, and I finally have a very stable setup to do so. So I'm gonna be streaming over at my channel, which is the Girl with Caramel Skin. I will just comment in chat. It's me. That's me. If you want to follow and, you know, follow along, right now I'm playing this game called Project Zomboid, which is kind of like the survival zombie apocalypse game. I scream a lot. It's very scary and very nerve-wracking. But if y'all want to pop over there and follow, I would be so appreciative. I don't have a set streaming schedule yet.
Oh, Ailing says she loves that game.
Yes, Ailing, I love that game as well. If you have tips or tricks, I would love to hear them. But yeah, if y'all pop over there and follow me and watch along, I would be so appreciative. So,
Garrett, have anything you want to plug? Just your life?
No, I'm a total social media hermit. My internet connection is garbage.
No, it's all right. I'll force you into all of the social medias to entertain us.
Happy holidays and be excellent to each other.
Yeah, that's
all I'm going to say.
Final closing notes. Once again, if you haven't followed us on our various platforms, please do, because we're, you know, trying to build the channel on all the different channels. The Twitch and the Discord is where I will post notifications for all of our upcoming streams. So if you want to be in tune on when those are happening, that's where you go. But the Discord itself has all of the lore for the D&D campaign. I'm sure now there will be lore and stuff that we talk about for Fall of Magic and like all of the other stuff. So that will be like the repository for information. And on a long enough timeline, in my heart of hearts, I would like to turn the Discord into a place where people can play by post D&D with each other, make it like a community space. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But yes, please follow us on all the things. Garrett struggling with the stream was iconic, says Ailing.
I'm glad that's how it came off.
Yeah. Honestly, though, with all of the crazy bad stream stuff we put up beforehand, like, I'm totally happy with you popping. Like, I would take that over all the random terrible stuff we were dealing with before. But yes, please follow us on all the things. We appreciate your time so much and the energy that you brought to chat. And I can't wait to hear about everything that people were talking about in the video chat because I'm very excited. And hopefully, I'll put Fall of Magic in our rotation for things that we're streaming. Vote, week over week. Actually, I should mention this too. I don't know if we're gonna have a D&D stream until probably after the holidays, right? I think people are probably too busy. So there may be more solo streams and there may be more group streams like for things like this. But yeah, the full party may not be able to assemble. I'll have to double check on that. But you'll still hear from us. It'll probably just be a little slower until the new year. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Friends, please, as Garrett said, happy holidays, be excellent to each other. And I'm going to run our outro, and then I will see you all soon in the future. So thank you so much, and blessed be.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, beautiful people.